The first speaker is Clark Richters.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes,
I'm sorry, I can't hear the president. I can hear the clerk on the phone.
Yep, you're good, Clark. Go ahead. We hear you.
Okay. So I just want to understand, there is no other option other than calling on the phone for public comment this way?
No, you could have used the link and logged in that way.
Okay, because I think that's much more better. I can hear what's going on. And I really think that, I mean, for me, it's really important to hear the speakers or even the council. So, and I was going to play a video of the past public hearing, but I'm going to not do that. I'm going to try to use my 3 minutes and a good try to advocate again for. So first off, I wanted to, you know, and I'm sure the councils and the mayor has seen my letters to the editors in regards to public access, Channel 23. It's a great opportunity. Now what we have here, the internet, that is a great opportunity. It would be even greater for the public to understand the meetings if they can figure it out. Now I'm going to touch on the last public hearing meeting, which I hear like a lot of people think it should be redone, and I can agree to that because that meeting was nothing but a technical mishap that could have been stopped right there. But that's just my opinion as a city resident, Kingston / media person. So back to Channel 23, it would be a really great opportunity that they are playing the meetings at a later date. It's not like a live hookup right now because there's a lack of communications. You know, I have to say that the mayor and the council, even though they allowed me to speak out of laws and rules, they haven't been communicating with me and sharing my concerns other than my alderman. That, you know, about how important it is if you're collecting 400 and I don't know, the franchise fee of $410,000 from a franchise tax on the cable, and you're not really investing in the public access where you can include it. I mean, this could be like online plus over the TV, this meeting right here. And that would be really, I mean, that would be really great for the public in general, because the people who are paying the franchise fees are not the people just getting internet. It's the people who are getting internet and cable. So they're paying the franchise fees.
30 seconds, Clark.
Okay, so Channel 20 right now is it doesn't meet minimum standards of public access. That right there is a red flag for you, because that can cause legal litigation in the future. So I would encourage the city to address that right away. Even myself, I put it. Can I have 2 more minutes?
I'm sorry, you have 3 minutes.
Can I have the president of the council explain to me how is they come up with the 3-minute time limit?
Clark, we have 24 other people that need to speak.
Understandable. I'll finish. I don't support the fair street extension, and I'll finish whatever I have to finish to the next meeting next month. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Sarah Wang.
Hi, can you hear me?
I'm speaking on 2 points. First, I want to strongly urge the council to move forward on good cause eviction with all due haste. The rent moratorium ends on January 15th, and if you haven't acted before then, it is inevitable that many people will lose their homes. There's no time to lose on this crucial issue. And on Fair Street, I was deeply disappointed that not a single member of this council made a comment on the abandonment of Fair Street Extension at the caucus last night. After a public hearing where so many citizens waited through hours of technical issues to make impassioned and widely varied pleas in opposition to this action, while supporters, quite a few from out of town, regurgitated talking points from the developer's website. After all that, not one of you could take a moment to acknowledge any of it. As a citizen and a voter, I feel ignored and discounted, as I have throughout this torturous process. I'm wondering if any of the members of the council bothered to read the peer review of the city's traffic study that was submitted last week. If not, it's worth a few minutes of your time. The traffic implications of closing Fair Street Extension are severe, and I don't believe they've been seriously studied. Just one of the many questions that arose for me when I read it was that the original traffic study, did any of you read that, suggested the installation of numerous traffic lights in Uptown to accommodate the changed traffic patterns. But over the past year, the city has removed many such lights, citing the difficulty of repairing the outdated equipment and the lack of funds to replace it. So who is going to buy and maintain a dozen new traffic lights? It seems like a question worth answering. In addition, the question of the Schwenk Drive entrance to the garage remains unanswered. The mayor says the Fair Street Extension will remain a public street where it enters the garage, but plans online seem to indicate that only building residents will have access to parking via that entrance. Is that a public street or a street that is being given to the developer to accommodate residents of his building? There are dozens of other questions that should be addressed before such a significant step as closing a public street is taken. I am well past the point where I believe my comments will make any difference because it's clear no one is listening. So I will close by repeating my comments from the public hearing. I hope you will all think long and hard about the repercussions of the decisions you are making on this project. History shows that these endeavors rarely work to the public good. When rich men show up making promises, healthy skepticism is, I believe, the best approach. The citizens of Kingston are watching, and we will remember. Thank you.
The next speaker is Jean Jacobs.
Jean Jacobs.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I'll start again, I'm sorry. Jean Jacobs, lifelong resident, City of Kingston, good evening. I am looking at a $46.7 million proposed budget for the year 2022. I'm going to read some statistics tonight that concern me regarding the spending in the City of Kingston and the future of the City of Kingston in terms of the projects that are on the table. Kingston is currently declining at a rate of minus 0.69% annually. And it's been declining at a rate of, minus 0.69 annually, and its population has decreased by minus 5.92% since the most recent census, which was reported a population of 23,893 in 2010. We are currently at a population in the City of Kingston at 22,479. What I'm trying to say here, ladies and gentlemen, is our population in the City of Kingston has not increased over the last 10 years. The average household income in the City of Kingston is $67,276 with a poverty rate of 19.24%. That concerns me considerably, having lived here all my life. The average citizen in the City of Kingston is just trying to make ends meet. With a salary of $67,276, $276. That's not a lot of money. Yet We have projects on the table that I am not saying are not needed or progress is not needed, but we must have a needs assessment that helps analyze the business or project needs that pave the way for obtaining them and ensuring its success. There are so many projects on the table now. 18 million deep stadium, 58 million, excuse me, the Kingsonian, I'll be brief, with a 25-year tax break. I'm not saying Uptown does not need progress, but you have to prove that to me, that it is sustainable. And what is the value of the Fair Street extension that we are giving away? Absolutely doing that. What is it appraised at? What are we, the taxpayers, giving away to the developers? That's a major concern of mine. We need license plate readers. We need cameras. Priorities, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Common Council, please put them in order. We need this as the city of Kingston is declining in people because they're either leaving the area or they're not coming here. So I urge all of you tonight to listen to some of these statistics, put them in perspective, understand the value of spending the taxpayers' money.
Your time is up.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Scott Denny.
Good evening, Madam Speaker and the members of the Chamber of Commerce, the Common Council. I share much of the same sentiments that Gene Jacobs just did, so I'll be very brief. We're looking at a 25-year pilot or a $30.7 million payment in lieu of taxes, and it's deeply concerning. Over the summer, I believe it was August, late August, there was a meeting when there was a $20 million fund that was taken, a loan, and for the waterfront. And the conversation came up at that meeting, and the question was, what are we going to do if in 10 years we don't have the money to pay the $20 million back? And if I'm not mistaken, you'd have to go back through, but I'm almost positive. I think I am positive. It was Alderman Don Tollerman had suggested at that point, he suggested we would have it, but if we didn't have it, we could always take it from the school budget. That's deeply concerning, especially with another project like this coming along. One of the other concerns that I was looking at, and again, I'm not saying I'm for this or against it. I'll get to that in just a moment. My other concern is this about this is I see that Mr. Jordan is a $6 million shareholder in a $54 million project, and there's partners. I was hoping to find out why we don't know who the partners are, who the other developers are in on this project. I know this is a project that the mayor has set his mind on getting through one way or another, but at the end of the day, the Common Council's responsibility really is to its constituents, whether they were voted in by them or not. There's 9 aldermen and women that represent a ward that need to take that into consideration. Mr. Ahaus at the last meeting said that he was totally confident that the city residents totally support this. That said, this should really be put up as a referendum on the ballot for the public to vote. I can tell you this, if this you don't go that way, and it appears as though the decisions have already been made, unfortunately, but it should go that way, whether you vote yes or no. But right now, the people of the Kingston have the right to have a voice.
30 seconds.
And at this moment, they're not getting that opportunity. I would strongly urge that there's a referendum and it goes to a ballot and let the people decide whether or not this should go through. At the end of the day, if that doesn't happen, I truly believe that 2 years, there'll be a very, very different looking Common Council. Thank you. I was pretty much done, Alyssa. I guess maybe I didn't even hear me. I have no idea.
Thank you. The next speaker
You don't
is
hear me,
Rebecca Sauer.
Alyssa? Apparently I was not heard because
You were
I'm speaking to
heard.
you right now and without
Yes.
response.
You are heard. Thank you.
I don't
next
hear you at all.
Scott, it's word. You are perfectly clear. Jane.
Hi, this is Rebecca Sauer. I heard my name called. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so I'm a Kingston resident and a homeowner living in Ward 3. I have studied and worked on affordable housing and homelessness issues for the last decade. And I want to speak on good cause eviction and the Kingstonian. When I talk about homelessness, people often say to me, why don't they just get a job? But the truth is there isn't a single state in the country where a minimum wage job can afford you the median rent for a 2-bedroom apartment. The gap between rents and what people can afford to pay in Kingston is, of course, even greater. The sudden surge of housing costs at 30% or more over the past year and a half is well documented. And with housing costs rising as they are, a vacancy rate of 2%, and the eviction moratorium expiring on January 15th, we are on the brink of a crisis. Homelessness is a tragedy and a moral failure of our society. Multiple studies show homelessness increases mortality and is associated with early death. It causes new health problems and exacerbates existing ones. Children are more likely to have emotional and behavioral problems. They are more likely to experience separation from their families. They experience more school mobility and are more likely to repeat a grade, be expelled, or drop out of school and have lower academic performance. So as a city and as a community, we should be doing everything in our power to prevent this. Good cause eviction is common sense legislation that would stop landlords from removing tenants without an order from a judge and limit unconscionable rent increases. But as the bill's written now, excluding buildings with fewer than 4 units, 2/3 of Kingston tenants would be unprotected. I urge the Common Council to amend the legislation and remove this exclusion as soon as possible. Please call a special session after January 4th to pass this legislation before the moratorium expires on the 15th. Meanwhile, I think it's disturbing to be furthering a $55 million luxury development that uses public resources while no action is being taken to protect our community members from crisis. I urge the council to suspend business on the Kingstonian. I think that includes the Fair Street extension. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Jonathan Bix.
Hi, everyone. I'm a Kingston resident and homeowner and the executive director of For the Many. We work with thousands of Kingston residents to pass laws and win elections. I urge the Common Council to protect their constituents by passing an amended good cause eviction law before the moratorium expires on January 15th. By amending the law to remove the less than 4 unit exclusion and by calling a special session to pass it before the moratorium expires. The bill is supposed to give some really basic and what should be uncontroversial protections to the vast majority of tenants before the eviction moratorium expires on January 15th. It's supposed to bring protections to the majority of your constituents. Yet in committee, this bill was changed so that it did not accomplish those goals. It was changed to exclude buildings with less than 4 units, meaning it was changed to exclude 2/3 of Kingston tenants. I hope the whole council, even those that originally agreed to support this change, who would like to give the benefit of the doubt of not being aware of the implications of it at the time, recognize it's a mistake to throw 2/3 of Kingston tenants, thousands of your constituents, under the bus and give them no protection to try to appease a few very conservative people you don't actually need to appease to enact this legislation. The bill as currently written is untenable. We absolutely oppose its passage without an amendment being made. Either you think the majority of your constituents deserve some basic protections before the eviction moratorium expires, or you don't. But make a choice between those two things and stand behind your choice. An amended good cause eviction law before the moratorium expires on January 15th by amending the law to remove the less than 4 unit exclusion and by calling a special session to pass it before the moratorium expires is urgently needed. Thank you.
Next speaker is Jennifer Berkey.
I'm sorry, are you asking, did you put me on your list? This is Jennifer O'Donnell.
I have a Jennifer Berkey on a list that was submitted to me.
Well, as I'm Jennifer O'Donnell, formerly Jennifer Berkey, I guess I'll speak if you can start the clock now. First of all, I am in full support of an amended good cause eviction law as was just articulated by for the many. Even though I am a landlord with responsibility for only one apartment, and it would affect me because I believe in the power of trust and mutual support in our community. As for the Fair Street extension, I would like to read you from your own words from Resolution 103 of 2012, supporting the recommendations of the I-587 Albany Avenue Broadway intersection study completed by the Ulster County Transportation Council. And this regards the closure of Fair Street Extension. Whereas the city and Ulster County Transportation Council and New York State DOT worked cooperatively over a 2-year period to analyze alternatives for the intersection of I-587 that included present and future transportation issues in the area around 587. And whereas the project discovery memorandum that explored the existing conditions and conceptual design report recommendations were developed through an extensive public participation process that included surveys, public meetings, stakeholder interviews, and 3-day design charrette. And whereas the recommendations in the conceptual design report not only address improvements directly related to the intersection, but also provide additional considerations associated with Albany Avenue and an overview of potential future extension of the street network in the uptown area to promote redevelopment and improve traffic flow. And I skip a couple of paragraphs, although a very important one is recommendations that support all modes of transportation, including highway transit, bicycle, and pedestrian. And whereas it says the city will examine the capital program and other funding sources and coordinate with the Ulster County Transportation Council to address the items in the comprehensive plan and zoning statute to help ensure that the recommendations of the study can be implemented. I could go on, but I urge all council members to look at this because you committed to this plan, to forming a committee to implement
30
its
seconds.
recommendations. Okay, and to capital funds that paid for the intersection, including the other recommendations that were made in this plan. I urge you to look at your own words and to consider that you made these commitments and you have not followed through. Thank you.
Next speaker is Liz Voigt.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks. Good evening. My name is Liz Voigt. My family and I moved to Kingston from Mississippi about 3 years ago. And like so many folks, we came here for the diverse community and affordable housing. In our short time here, I've watched the changes that were underway when we got here just dramatically speed up with skyrocketing housing costs and new neighbors. I've lived in other cities as they experience gentrification waves like this. I've seen firsthand what happens when cities delay action. It results in massive displacement of low-income families and people of color, strains on social services, and a loss of community. Please don't let that be Kingston's future. We need the Common Council to act urgently. Like several other speakers spoke before me, we need you to move forward good cause eviction protection without the amendment that would exempt the majority of our rental housing, and to schedule an emergency meeting in January to not further delay enacting good cause, especially with the imminent ending of the eviction moratorium. I also urge the council to quickly move next to pass restrictions on Airbnbs and support for emergency shelter. It's just outrageous that this council would act to move forward public giveaways to the Kingstonian or a new zoning code without first enacting the laws that we need to protect renters. We all benefit when families, children, and seniors have stable housing. Please, I urge you to oppose the Fair Street extension and to move forward good cause without the amendment on the 4-unit or less exemption and to set the emergency session in January. Thank you.
Next speaker is Charlotte Adamus.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Charlotte Adamus, and I am fortunate to own my own home at 42 Josephine Avenue in Kingston. But between the ages of 18 and 34, I lived as a tenant, always in single-family homes or in small buildings of less than 4 units. Sadly, most of my landlords exploited my vulnerability as a person without financial resources. I didn't have the means to leave, for example, after I learned my infant son had a high lead level due to the paint in our apartment, and there was no mechanism to force my landlord to mitigate. Nor did I have the means to leave when the pipes under the front lawn burst through no fault of my own, and my landlord jacked up the rent to cover the cost of repair. Those are just 2 stories that happened to one person. I imagine that is multiplied by an unbelievable amount for the people who live in this community and who are financially vulnerable. We need to protect them. I believe that is my responsibility as a homeowner. It's your responsibility as lawmakers. By doing so, not only do we preserve the diversity in our community, the diversity that drew me and my family to this city 23 years ago, but by keeping people in safe, affordable, and predictable housing, we will ensure that our social service agencies aren't overwhelmed, and then we create a better, stable community for all of us. Finally, I'd like to say that as a retired public school librarian in the Kingston City Schools, I spent 18 years as a witness to the impact of housing insecurity on my students. The anxiety of not knowing where they were going to live proved a serious distraction from learning that I am sure had long-lasting implications for the shape of their futures. And I know that Rebecca gave you the statistics on that, and I saw the stress in action. I'm asking the council to move forward with the good cause eviction protection legislation without the amendment exempting the 4-unit and under buildings, and to schedule an emergency meeting in January to not further delay enacting this critical piece of legislation. And then on the other subject, the Kingstonian, I am also not in favor of giving away the Fair Street extension to the developers of the Kingstonian.
30 seconds.
Strongly am opposed to the government giveaways like streets and tax breaks to for-profit developers. Thank you so much.
Next speaker is Ruben Cash. Ruben Cash. Isaiah Morris.
Yep, come in. All right.
So, to change the law.
Yeah.
Hello, this is Isaiah Morris, and I would like to show support for good cause eviction and to change the law and to get it passed as of January 15th.
Is that it?
Hello? I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's it, I guess.
Thank you. The next speaker is Chris Rule. Chris Rule. Kevin Craig.
Hi, I'm Kevin Craig. I live in the city of Kingston. I've lived here most of my entire life, with the exception of going to college to Plattsburgh State. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Alrighty, I'm for the good cause eviction. I want people to not be able to be removed from their premise unless for good cause, especially during what's going to probably be a very harsh New York winter. Myself's included in this gambit of people. So I say that with my own personal experience on the line here. I really hope that the Common Council votes to pass the legislation as it was originally written. I do believe. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. The next speaker is Marjorie Leopold.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I live in Saugerties, but I work very closely with the Ulster Immigrant Defense Network, and our work is mostly concentrated in Saugerties. I mean, in Kingston, of course. And but we serve everyone in the county, and I'm calling and speaking on behalf of the renting community who really need this good cause eviction bill, as you know. And I hope that the council will pass good cause eviction as it was originally written, and that if they don't, they will be excluding, as other speakers have mentioned, 3/4 or 2/3 of the renters in Kingston. That is just not acceptable. We hear stories every day about people who are being displaced because of rent increases and, as you know, the sale of apartments, and we can't of houses, and we can't have a healthy community if we displace so many people. Clearly, the council understands that, I think, and I hope. So we need to pass good cause eviction, include landlords who have 1 or 2 or 3 units, not exclude them. And we have to do it before the moratorium expires on January 15th. And we also need emergency housing for the people who have been displaced or on the verge of being displaced. We need that so badly. As previous speakers have mentioned, the cost of homelessness on our community is great, and it's getting greater. And we don't have yet the number of social workers and service providers to help to repair the damage that housing insecurity does to people's lives. So before we, and I don't think we should rezone the city or do anything that benefits developers before we pass good cause eviction, include most renters, and
30 seconds.
Emergency housing for people who need it and the social services that go with it. Thank you very much.
You can skip. Thank you.
Okay. Rosalia Arriaga.
Yeah, unfortunately, she couldn't join as well, so you can.
Okay. Leticia Lopez.
Yep, right here. And I will do interpretation. Pues yo no tengo mucho que decir. My name is Leticia Lopez.
He vivido acá por 25 años en Kingston.
I have lived here for 25 years in Kingston.
Mm, ya, ya. Yo, bueno, en mi opinión, yo pienso que todo, no sé mucho de esto, pero en mi opinión yo creo que todo esto que están haciendo es por su conveniencia.
I don't know a lot about laws, but I think that everything that is being done is to someone's personal convenience.
Y pues eso es todo.
And that is it. Thank you.
Pamela Hill. Pamela Hill. Paul Mersfelder.
Hi, my name's Paul Mersfelder. I'm a resident and homeowner in Ward 3. Have lived in Kingston for about 5 years now. I'm also here as a member of the community organization For the Many, and I'd like to speak on good cause eviction. So I've been encouraged recently to see cities in our area pass meaningful protections for tenants, such as Poughkeepsie and Newburgh. And I was excited to see Kingston take up this bill. But when I read in the paper that the Kingston bill would exclude buildings of less than 4 units, frankly, I was ashamed and angry that our city would be the one that tried to cut this bill, or gut this bill rather, and exclude 60% of the renters in our city. Yeah, we've seen a big influx of new residents during this pandemic, and that's brought new life and new interest and new money to our area, and those are all good things. But it also brings opportunists who don't care about our city and the people who live here at all. I'm also a landlord. I own a home that has 2 units, and I'm already doing what good cause would require me to do. Not because I'm an exceptional landlord, but because I think it's common sense, and I imagine it's something that every good landlord is already doing. But I have had predatory landlords call me, asking me if they could buy my home, knowing full well that they would come in with a tenant already in house and income coming in, and then jack up the rent. And that would put my tenant on the curb. And where would she go? Probably not Kingston, not with the way the rents are rising around here. This isn't about picking a side between landlords or tenants. It's about protecting our community from a greedy few who want to take advantage of these recent events and push families out who've been here for generations. It's about protecting our city from those who want to line their own pockets at the expense of the people who make Kingston great. So I want to ask each of you, which side are you on? Are you on the side of thousands of renters in Kingston and small responsible landlords like myself? People whose vote you're going to be asking for? Or are you on the side of a handful of opportunists who see nothing in our people but money signs? So I urge you in the strongest possible terms, please put our city and our people first. Remove this exclusion and call a special session to pass good cause eviction before the moratorium expires on January 15th. Thank you for your time.
Next speaker is Azora Rivera.
Yeah, she couldn't make it. I have a question. So there are other folks that join us, but because the chat is disabled, they can't sign up to speak. How can we send those names to you?
At the end, we'll ask if there's anyone else who needs to speak.
Okay.
Sheila Hayner. Sheila Hayner. Charlotte Royer.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Charlotte Boyer. I live in the 9th Ward on Hasbrook Avenue. I have only lived in this city for 2 years, but I came here after being displaced during the pandemic and really struggling to find housing in the Hudson Valley. I lived farther north of here. We were displaced. It was terrifying. And yeah, it was, you know, we were basically kind of just living with friends for a little while until we could find housing. In spite of having, you know, a decent income, the rents had increased so much and there was so little housing stock here. So I just want to also provide a cautionary tale. I grew up in Portland, Maine. The first time I experienced eviction with no cause was when I was 12. My single father, who was also a firefighter for the city, we got pushed out of our housing because our new landlord didn't like children. And my father had my baby brother to take care of. So he was unhoused while working for the city, saving people's lives for half of a year. I've also experienced predatory landlords in other communities and been displaced several times in that process. In spite of being a tenant who always pays my rent, usually leaves my apartments in better condition than when I found them, and communicates, you know, regularly. So I just want to speak on behalf of children who might potentially be displaced on the 15th. It is an incredibly interruptive experience. I'm very lucky that I had other community support and a lot of resilience. But it was a very difficult thing to lose my home of 7 years when I was still a child. I don't recommend it. I see it happening to a lot of people in the Hudson Valley. It's wrong. We need to protect folks. Though most of the situations that I've been in where I was displaced were smaller homes, and that includes the majority of rentals in Kingston right now. So I think it's imperative that the original bill be restored. I understand the need to compromise. I actually was a young person. I was the chair of the city council advisory board when I was a young person. And I saw this same thing happen in Portland, Maine, where people bowed down to developers and our homelessness skyrocketed, our rent skyrocketed, and people I grew up with couldn't afford to move home and raise their families in the town they grew up in. I don't want that for Kingston, and I don't want this for the residents here. I don't want our community to be destroyed in the same way I saw my hometown destroyed. And there's something you can do about it now. And I urge you to think about everyone you know who might be on the line, who might be vulnerable, the children that you know, and please just do something to protect us from displacement. It's really important. So January 15th, that's the deadline. Please get it done by then.
Time is up. Dan Selden. Dan Selden.
He won't be able to make it tonight, sorry.
Next speaker is Martha Muniz. Martha Muniz. Josefina Sariano.
Sorry, you can skip. She had to leave.
Okay. Phil Erner.
Right here. 1 second.
Good evening, Kingston City Council. It's Phil Erner. I'm at 109 Washington Avenue in the 3rd Ward. You've heard me speak on this before, and you know that I support good cause eviction and I oppose the Kingstonian. So I'm just going to summarize some points that others have made before me, and that'll be that. Gene Jacobs mentioned giving away land to developers. How about we give free land for folks needing homes and tax abatements for them too? Scott Denny mentioned detriment to school budgets to pay for a previous waterfront development loan. And we know that pilots come straight out of the school budget as well for projects like the Kingstonian. Rebecca Sauer described our whole society's abdicating our moral responsibility as evidenced by the homelessness crisis. Well, the city council can do the right thing, the moral thing, the responsible thing, and, for example, pass good cause eviction and do nothing concerning housing until such protections are enacted. Jonathan Bix mentioned calling us, and among others, calling a special session to get this done. I urge you to do that. Liz Voigt mentioned displacing low income and people of color, especially. Those are these folks are most immediately impacted by the situations that we are witnessing here in our city. Charlotte Adamus said, think of the children and what housing instability does in the children that she saw as a librarian in our schools. Margie Leopold says we must act on emergency housing. Paul Mersfelder spoke as a landlord and about predatory offers he's getting to buy his home, which could lead to the eviction of his current tenant. Are we going to protect our communities from a greedy few? And you just heard from Charlotte Royer about her own eviction experience. So I urge the council to take all this in consideration and then take another walk around your ward and speak to people on the street. Knock on everybody's door like you do when you're campaigning for office.
30 seconds.
And then please do the right thing. Thank you.
Robin Playford.
She's unable to make it this evening as well. She apologizes.
Peter Craig. Peter Craig. Sue Whalen.
Sue Ellen also will not be joining us this evening.
Okay, Katie Gambino.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm a lifelong local speaking in favor of the amended good cause eviction law. I'm sharing a few issues I've had to deal with since moving into the shirt factory building, which I have been unable to fully fight against for fear that if I make a fuss, my landlord will raise the rent higher than the already exorbitant $1,600 per month, evict me, or refuse to renew my lease out of spite, in hopes that sharing my story will help people see how bad things are for renters without this amended law in place. When I moved in, I was charged first, last, and security, even though it's illegal to charge more than first month's rent and security, because according to the property manager, the units are coded as commercial use, even though people like myself live in them. Before I signed the lease, I made a point to ask if the heat was fully functioning and kept at least room temperature at all times. I was told there would be no issues with the heat, but come October, the temperature started to drop and the heat did not come on. I went back and forth with building management for weeks to no avail. Finally, I was told that the building owner would not be turning on the heat until November, at which point my emails and phone calls stopped being answered. I then visited the property management office in person and was met by a man who I believed to be the owner. He told me I should get a space heater. I said I already have one, to which he replied I should get more space heaters. I told him I shouldn't have to buy additional space heaters when heat is supposed to be included in my rent, to which he replied if I didn't like it, I could leave. For about half the month of October, I had to stay at my parents' house because it was too cold for me and my dog to stand in our apartment. The floors here have large gaps between each floorboard, which have small, sharp objects strewn about amongst the dirt packed between each of the floorboards, which has been slowly dislodging over time. I vacuum my floor almost every day to no avail. 2 weeks ago, I was unexpectedly stabbed in the bottom of my right foot by one of these objects. The object went into my foot about an inch deep and was rusty when I pulled it out. I had to get a tetanus shot and antibiotics, costing me $48 out of pocket, which for me is a lot of money. I also had to cancel a house cleaning job I had scheduled for the next day, where I would have made $150 because I couldn't walk. All in all, this issue cost me $200 and immeasurable emotional distress. I have reached out so many times in an attempt to get them to fix the floor so that it is safe and to reimburse me the $48 for my medical bills, but 2 weeks later, they have still done nothing. Every day, I'm terrified that my dog is going to get stabbed in the paw by a random object unearthed from the dangerous floor. Last month, I saw a unit identical to mine in the shirt factory on Craigslist at the same price I pay listed with a blurb that said, "Get in now while the low price won't last long." This building owner is a literal millionaire, and we are currently letting him exploit the members of our community. What's happening to renters right now is inhumane, and it needs to be stopped. We need to protect our renters.
30
Thank you.
seconds.
Thank you.
Minerva Sola.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Minerva Soya, and I am a homeowner here. Been living here in the 101 Elisa Drive for the last close to 24 years. And I'm here to speak, on behalf of my neighbors, my community, and the people that I'm with every day and walk through. Whether it's in Hannaford, CVS, or just being a regular person like everyone else, and looking at the needs of the people in our community. This law is so important, and the good cause eviction without the amendment will be something that let me open up my camera. Sorry. I basically, want to talk from my own experience of growing up in a city in Manhattan, which I wouldn't want to see the city of Kingston go through. As a Puerto Rican woman, growing up in Chelsea, all the Puerto Ricans had to move out of Chelsea because of the gentrification. And during that time, what happens is that people they go further north. And they go further north because when you land up in Hudson Valley, or even going all the way up from Albany to Buffalo, you can afford the rent. So you are displaced, because we know the process of gentrification, in which a poor area during my time as a Puerto Rican young woman, as in the city, experiences an influx of middle class or wealthy people who renovate and rebuild our homes and businesses, which often results in an increase in property values and the displacement of earlier, usually poor residents, a neighborhood undergoing gentrification. So I speak to you all because as a Puerto Rican woman, we've experienced this growing up, and now I see it in the 23 years that I'm here. I see it in the town of Kingston, and it's unacceptable. So do the right thing and have your meeting in January and do some justice for Martin Luther King, which his birthday is January 15th. I thank you.
Stephanie Jackson. Stephanie Jackson. Christian Sandy. Christian Sandy. Patricia Coley. Patricia Coley. Kira Nolte. Kira Nolte. Ava Hakobian.
Okay, so now we're moving on to the in-person speakers. We have Michelle Schneider.
Can you just hold on 1 second and then I'll just mute it and then can. Thank you.
We can't hear anybody. Can you ask the speaker to start again, please?
We are unable to hear that. It's true.
Elisa, I can't hear either.
She's up in Southern Vermont. This is happening to people all over the place. You know, you guys are going to serve. You're going to serve people in Houston. You're going to serve all of us. So what's the spirit of the custodian? It's gross. It's not what we need. We need housing. We need housing security. We need schools. We need food for people. We, you know, we're not for a public emergency now, so we think our shelters, they're like, they can't put in the night that they usually hold. Because in a COVID emergency, we have to have crap beds. My husband has a family house. They're on crap. They can't take in the kids that they usually take because they're an emergency. We are going to see a horrible situation. I am speaking in favor of the eviction, but on every single landlord who's under this law. It's ridiculous to see you doing. You know, you pass a eviction law.
A great title, but it's a bad faith eviction law, actually, if you
fully protect the 30%. I also want to speak to the jury. Everyone knows how it goes. It's fair street extension. It's still clear to public meeting. I also want to say not a single person tonight has spoken in favor
of Fair Street nor against the good cause eviction laws, because we are the community. We are actually the people who live here and work here and support this community. I
20
really
seconds.
ask you guys to take care of us. This is America. Most of you are even Democrats. Allegedly, there's a platform that's supposed to be about people over profits and all that good stuff. I got to see it. We got to see it. You got to, because you don't want to go down in history as the people who sold us all out. You really don't want to. So thank you so very much.
We have one more in-person speaker, and then I will go back to the virtual meeting. I understand there's a few people who want to speak. Anthony Tampone.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anthony Tampone. Most people call me Junior. I live in Delta Place, Kingston, Ward 3. And I'm a landlord. I call myself a housing provider because I hate the term landlord. But we own a number of properties, mostly around Uptown Kingston. And I support just cause eviction because what is a community without people? And we need to make sure that the people in our community are protected and that they stay here. I'm pretty upset about the 4-unit cap that was added in. And you know, I assume that it would have excluded the vast majority of housing in the city of Kingston. I assume that that 2/3 number is correct. That is not helping our community by separating large housing developments and almost all rental housing in the city of Kingston. Because of like questionable way that the definitions in this law are written, I don't even know if this law would apply to any of the properties that I have. I think that it wouldn't. And it should. It should apply to every single rental unit. I like to talk for a second about the landlords, right? Like the 5% number, it's an easy number, right? Like if you have an investment and you get a 5% dividend from that investment year over year, that's a really, really, really good return, right? So nobody should complain about this. Honestly, 5% is probably too much for most people because it's greater than inflation and it's greater than most people make as, you know, raises go over year. It's greater than a cost of living increase. So if we keep on raising, if everyone raises all their rents 5%, that's eventually going to cause a problem for everybody. But what it does help to do is stop spikes in the market. So we're in a place right now where rents are going up astronomically. It'll smooth that curve. And we need that, right? We need that really, really strongly. And the terms, we need to, if you have a rental property and the goal of that rental property is to make it a long-term rental, let someone stay there. Unless you have a reason to evict them, there's no reason to end the term and put someone else into that same spot. What do you care who that person is? If they're paying their rent and they're there and they're following all the rules of their lease agreement, there's no reason that that person should leave. Like if your investment was to make housing,
30 seconds.
Then you need to understand as an investor that there is a human component to investing in residential rental properties. Right? And if you want a high growth investment, there are much better investments for you. This is not it. So I hope that you spend your money elsewhere. Support our community, pass good cause eviction, get rid of the 4-unit thing. It's absolutely ridiculous. Thank you.
Okay, we do have a few people who want to speak virtually.
Should we just start?
Give me 1 second and we're switching back. If you are in the Zoom, if you could put your hand up. If you're not on my list, and I will call you on your name. Christian Sandy. Christian Sandy. Patricia Coley. Kara Nolte, Yulise Garcia, Lee Dodson,
Hello. Hi,
hear
friends.
you.
Can you hear me? Okay, great. Thanks. I'm a landlord and a homeowner. I'm a resident of Ward 3. I live in Uptown Kingston, Washington Avenue. I'm a landlord. I am what they call a small mom and pop landlord. And I've heard that this amendment was put in place, the amendment, namely that the good cause eviction should be excluded for homes with 4 units or less. It's supposed to be in place to protect people like me, small landlords who only have a few units that they maintain. But I'm urging you to pass good cause eviction and to withdraw the exclusion for homes like mine, like the one I rent. I don't think that it's, I think that a predatory bad landlord could just as easily take over a 3-unit property as a much larger unit property. I support good cause eviction. I think these are completely reasonable and basic protections for tenants that they all deserve. I really hope that you'll help us guard against predatory property management companies, some of which have called me interested in buying my property. And I want to preserve our community. I want to preserve our neighborhood, our relationships. Again, these small mom and pop landlords like me aren't at risk here. They're not at risk if you remove the exclusion for homes with 4 units or less either, not if they're good landlords. So please call a special section before the eviction moratorium expires on the 15th. Please, this is essential to our community, essential to not only tenants, but good landlords like me who care about our community. Thank you so much for your time, your attention, much appreciated.
Next speaker is Stephanie Jackson. Madeline Birnbaum. Diana Lopez.
Hi, good evening. My name is Diana Lopez. I am a resident of Kingston on 38 Saffron Street. And I am also a community organizer with For the Many. I've been here several times to ask common council, right, to pass good cause eviction. But I am here to make sure that they amend the legislation and undo the change, which excludes 2/3, which is about 60% of renters in Kingston. Like some Lee mentioned, like we don't want to exclude anyone. We are here to help our community, and that's why these folks on Common Council were elected for. And I think that if the constituents are asking for this to pass, it should be passed as soon as possible. I also urge that when this amendment is made, to please ask for an emergency meeting before January 15, or we are going to have an even bigger crisis and families with children out in the street, especially during this pandemic, the new variant, and also the cold weather. So I urge to please do this as soon as you can, and let's not have our community waiting much longer. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all that's signed up. We have any public comment tonight, and I'm going to close public comment for this evening. So, Peter, if you don't mind shutting down the.
I thought you guys were letting people who are waiting in Zoom speak. I had my hand raised.
Me too.
Hello, are you going to let the rest of the people in the Zoom comment?
There are 6 hands raised right now. Councilor, you're okay with allowing 6 more speakers? Yes, fine. Okay, so we have the 6 hands that are raised. We'll move through those. Again, if you keep comments short, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Alana Berger.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I'll be short. My name's Alana Berger. I live on Franklin Street in Ward 5. I've spoken before about at least the Kingstonian issue, and I feel like people have spoken well. I don't need to repeat all of the amazing, compelling sort of statistics and real life stories that have been shared. So I think the only thing I can add is, one, I absolutely oppose giving away the Fair Street extension, as I have opposed giving away public resources a number of times for a private developer. I think the only thing I want to say is it is so clear based on the last year of elections, the sort of utter defeat of Dave Donaldson twice, as well as his sort of hand-picked school board candidates who are trying to basically politicize the school board as a pro-Kingstonian slate. They were all soundly defeated by the voters of Kingston. It just seems so clear that a majority of people who live here do not want to see our tax dollars, our school dollars, and our land given away. So please listen to the voters and do not let this Kingstonian go forward with the giving up of the Fair Street extension. And I also, as basically everybody tonight has said, strongly support good cause eviction legislation as originally written, without the exemption for 2/3 of landlords, and ask you all to, as everyone has said, an emergency session before January 15th. I want to say that given the incredible rise in housing prices in Kingston, it's pretty shameful that there's been not one meaningful piece of legislation coming out of this council in the last few years to protect renters. We've seen our neighboring cities like Beacon, like Hudson, and other smaller towns pass good cause eviction, pass limits on Airbnbs. And Kingston needs to sort of get on board with everyone else in the region. And support good cause eviction that protects all renters, not just a very, 1/3. Thank you very much.
Heck yeah.
Pat Pelicano.
Hi there. Yeah, I also want to say thanks for taking the people that are on the Zoom, just because I know the Freeman sort of does tallies, of who spoke out in support of things. So yeah, I do appreciate it. I just want to echo what a lot of people have said tonight, which is that I support good cause eviction. I think the amendment, as I read it in the paper and as I've heard it explained tonight, is ridiculous and embarrassing to exclude 60% of renters. Even that one landlord that spoke earlier mentioned that the 5% increase cap is even more than what people can make in terms of their yearly salary. It's just unconscionable. And also echo that to give away a road without any assessment, without any genuine public comment besides these common council meetings is again kind of a farce. the Kingstonian, in my opinion, is classist and racist. And putting a private rooftop park on the top with a pool and removing our road, it's just an incredible. It's not even a sleight of hand. It's like they've publicized it. But anyway, yeah, thanks for taking all of our comments, and I hope Common Council does right for the people who are most vulnerable in Kingston. Oh, last thing I'll say is warming shelters are a Band-Aid, and they make me so incensed that we have to let people that don't have houses know that there is a place for them to run to stay warm when the temperatures are below freezing. Thank you.
Alana Ross.
Hi. You've heard a steady stream in support of good cause eviction and against the Kingstonian giveaway tonight. The opponents of the giveaway have a rich and wide array of reasons to not indulge in this welfare for millionaires. The supporters, on the other hand, parrot the same few bogus reasons that the developers and their PR cheerleaders have dreamed up. And those reasons are pretty much false. And let me add one more. Supporters lionize Brad Jordan, but he and his family have a long history of stiffing the people of Kingston. When his grandfather built Kingston Plaza, it wound up before some sort of grand jury because they wanted to look into the illegal way that he acquired the fill that he used as a base for the plaza. That was 1962. And grandfather Herzog, because that was his name, that's Brad's grandfather, he sat on the school board, and as such, he was not allowed to sell paint and hardware to the schools. But the ethics didn't bother him. And so he opened a store on Broadway that was called Vallejo's, which is now gone. And he was a silent partner. And so that's how he got around the stricture that he shouldn't be selling to the schools. 15 years ago, Brad Jordan tried to get a high school built on a floodplain that he owned down near the Esopus. And of course, he also would have figured a way to provide the building materials. This family has a history of disregarding ethics, and Brad Jordan is no different. And you know that because he sat on so many committees during this process. And why do you on the Common Council avert your gaze from what you know to be true? Why do you look away from this dishonesty? You have heard heartbreaking testimony tonight. And I need to tell you that I house someone rent-free because he would otherwise be homeless because he can't find a place to live, even though he has Section 8. Our country is in the mess it's in because for 5 decades, government has shoveled tax dollars to the rich, and you've taken it away from the middle class and from the poor. And the Kingstonian boondoggle is one more example. And if you continue with this Kingstonian giveaway, you will be responsible for exacerbating homelessness, for exacerbating inequality, and exacerbating the corruption that we have seen out of Washington and Albany for the past 50 years. I beg of you, please listen to your conscience. And if your conscience has been silenced, then listen to the stories and the personal testimonies that you've heard tonight. Because if you don't, then not only do you lack a conscience, but you also lack a heart. Thank you.
Chris Rule.
Hey, good evening. Thanks for letting me share some thoughts. I just wanted to share something that the way I connected with this situation. So my wife and I have been fostering in the county of Ulster for a few years now. And something that we've seen multiple times and are actually in a situation we're actively in right now is that we have a child in our home who is otherwise close to being able to be reunited with their parents if it wasn't for a lack of housing. I know for a fact that our first foster daughter could be at risk if this is not amended quickly. Her family has worked incredibly hard to gain housing and is at risk of being evicted quite easily if prices go up. And that's just one situation. I mean, we're one family doing this, and there's many other in the community. So as we think about this from an ethical standpoint and from a law standpoint in the city of Kingston, I think it's also important to remember that this situation these families that aren't able to get their children back not only hurt and destroy family situations, it burdens the system in the county and in the city of Kingston as well, because the longer families are being separated because of a lack of housing, the longer they're staying in other placements, and we're at a point in foster care right now where there just isn't enough home for these children that are needing to be placed, and families are getting separated for that reason. So I would like to just ask on behalf of the children facing that situation right now and the families missing their children, that we don't go through that, and that we amend the good cause back to the way it was. Thanks.
Rashida Tyler.
You. My name is Rashida Tyler. I'm a community activist. I've spoken many times in support of good cause eviction. I support good cause eviction legislation as it was originally written and intended. The bill, this same bill, was actually memorialized, passed a memorializing resolution in 2019. The sentiments behind it, that we have to protect our community and keep members of our community housed. That is one of the quintessential duties of the council, of the mayor, of any elected official, is to protect the community, make sure we all can thrive and participate in the city that we are collaborating to create and to really make Kingston stand out and special. You know, the same legislation has been passed in Newburgh, Poughkeepsie, Hudson, and Albany, but it's held up here because there was an amendment added at the last minute that doesn't protect the majority of renters in Kingston. This legislation just makes sense, you know, for all the reasons that many of the speakers, the great speakers before me have raised, you know, especially because it provides a sense of stability for our children. You know, having basic protections for tenants will help make our community more resilient. I also want to uplift what the last speaker, Chris Rule, said about parents who are losing their children. Almost every week, I have calls from people who are residing in motels or who are being evicted, and they have threats from CPS to have their children taken from them. Right now, foster care in Ulster County is overwhelming, the number of children in the system. And it's not for abuse, it's for because people can't afford a place to live. This is impacting and destroying our communities. And we ask the council to take action by starting today and as soon as, you know, the new session begins, before the eviction moratorium is over on January 15th, to take action and to implement good cause eviction. And so our community is resilient, which is why I do not support the Kingstonian. I support good development, but the Kingstonian is not sound development. It takes disproportionately from the public without sufficient benefit and without actually getting sufficient public input. And so it's not going to be an economic boom. Everybody thought that once about the Jack in the Box as well, but we just had to tear it down. It doesn't work. So for these reasons, I'm asking the council to go back to the original version of the good cause eviction law, and to vote on the good cause eviction law before January 15th, and to reserve your vote on the Kingstonian at least until the new year. Thank you.
Thank you for all that participated tonight. I am now closing the public speaking portion of the meeting. We now enter into claims and communications.
We do.
Hearing no discussion, they will be on.
I'm sorry. I had my hand raised up because I had one more speaker that wanted to speak as well.
I'm sorry, Dan, what was that? Dan, we already had you speak, so there's somebody else?
It's Justin.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's hard to hear. Am I able to speak?
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
Please say your name for the record.
Yes, my name's Justin Orashan. That's Orashan. I live on Garden Street in the 5th Ward. I'm grateful to be present I've been present at these conversations for some time now. I'm someone who's personally experienced, after living in Kingston for 5 years, displacement of myself and fellow housemates, and we're among the lucky few who were able to find housing within a pandemic and the worst housing crisis our country and our city has ever faced. Being present today will just reiterate the importance of passing good cause eviction, and as it was originally intended and without the amendment for excluding anything below four units and below, and for putting in place a meeting with urgency before the moratorium ends in January. I'll admit, it just feels, it feels exasperating, folks. We've been here so many times and we've done this and got it wrong before. We were here when the ETPA should have been passed over 2 years ago, and we know what happened then. It gutted many portions of our community, a multi-million-dollar entity who had no good faith and had no interest in being a positive, humane landlord, sold us out and sold people out of their homes and displaced us. And because our city and because the city council and because the mayor didn't step up and come back and say, you know what, with urgency, we have to do something different, we lost hundreds of our community members. That's continued then into today. Every week we let this go without passing is more people displaced. It's absurd. You know, I'm here and I know the members of the council are here because we care so deeply about our community and we love it and we love to be here. But the reality is many of our community members aren't here any longer and won't be much longer. If it was our council members' housings on the line, I'm sure this would have been passed a year ago. If it was the mayor's housing on a line, the ETPA would have been passed a year ago. I don't say that to invalidate your sincere feelings of empathy for people who are going through this, but this is a class issue. If your housing is not insecure, then you got to motivate yourself to feel what's going on with so much of our community. Any person who's facing housing insecurity in our community right now is in peril and we're in fear. Please, we shouldn't even have to be asking for this. We need to be demanding. You need to be doing the right thing and passing this, removing the exemption. It should have been done years ago. It needs to be done now. Please and thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna move along with our meeting. Can I get a motion to dispense the second reading of the general bills and pay statements? Motion by Scott Childers, second by Steve Sharp. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion is adopted 9.
Just so you know, y'all are on mute.
Is this deliberate that we cannot hear you?
You think?
No. Alyssa, do you know that we can't hear them? Chat is disabled, but can you please tell them we can't hear them?
I'm just gonna start sending angry face emojis. No.
I mean, seriously, is this deliberate?
Alyssa, can you hear us? That we can't hear the council?
Does anybody know anyone who's there in the room that we can text?
Wait, here's Alyssa.
We're trying to work this out. Just give us a minute.
Thank you.
Yeah, very convenient that you're trying to work it out.
It might have been one of the admins leaving, just saying.
This is Chambers is on mute. So if we,
This is Chambers right here. It's not on mute.
no. Hey, it's good?
But that's, I have it unmuted here. You want me to leave that unmuted and keep this microphone on? Okay. All right, just so everyone in the Zoom knows, we think we have it corrected, but we are in the middle of a 3-minute break as a few council members needed to take a break.
Thank you for explaining that.
Does anybody know what they were voting on right before the break?
I have no clue. Probably.
I heard the
nothing but-
beginning of it and then it went out.
Same
As
here. They're about to
teachers,
vote
we
on
had
something.
1 week to learn how to do this 2 years ago. 1 week we had to learn how to teach people online, how to be online with groups. 1 week, and they still haven't figured it out. 2 years.
I think they were probably voting to take a break.
Hope you're right, Rashida.
Or it might have been just a closed public comment, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds
All
right.
things
Yeah,
insane.
but I'm always suspicious of when the mic cuts out when they start to vote.
Thought Andrea was saying something about a vote, asking people to make a vote for something, but it stopped when she was in the middle of the sentence.
I will also let everyone know we're still being recorded.
Good point.
Yes, I realize I'm being recorded and I want it memorialized.
All right, Kevin, stop it. Kevin, you causing trouble?
It's not me, I swear, but I think it had to do with one of the admins leaving. It then would go to another admin whose default mic settings on their phone or device might have been set to do not share mic.
I was only
Potentially.
kidding. I was only kidding, Kevin.
However, the timing of it was a little suspicious.
You think?
It's something if it was me, I would raise more than an eyebrow. But I think every person was in support of the good cause.
Yeah, I hear you. I get it.
I didn't hear one voice against it. I don't think. But I was at the For the Many meeting. I had to leave because my health is not too good.
Well, I hope things are getting better for you.
Hopefully, it's very hard fighting with the doctors and.
Well, not
I would
only is
raise more than an
being
eyebrow,
recorded,
but I think every person was in support of the good cause. I think every single person was in support of it. I didn't hear one voice against it. I don't think. So I was at the
Even the
For the
landlord.
meeting. I had to leave because my health is not too good.
All right, we're gonna get started.
Well, I hope things are getting better for you.
Hopefully, it's very hard fighting with doctors.
Well, not only is
I would raise more than an eyebrow, but I think every person was in support of the good cause. I think every single person was in support of it. I didn't hear one
Moving
voice.
along to resolution 26, please.
Resolution 226 of 2021, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, requesting a transfer in the police department in the amount of $256,000 to cover the expense of retirement payouts, grant funding, and internal transfers to balance accounts.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Moving to resolution 227, please.
Resolution 227 of 2021, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, requesting a transfer in the Parks and Recreation Department in the amount of $15,071 to appropriately reflect the change in assigned responsibilities of the Director of the department.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Moving to resolution 228, please.
Resolution 228 of 2021, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, requesting a transfer in contingency to replenish the account.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Can we please pause for a second, Elisa? If everybody on Zoom could mute yourselves, in order to make this work, we can't mute chambers, but we do need everybody else to mute themselves, because on Zoom, people are hearing public as well as the council. Thank you. Moving to resolution 229, please.
Resolution 229 of 2021, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, to adjust expenditures in the 2022 general fund budget as follows.
On the question, Alderman Rennie Scott Childress.
Thank you. I would just like to point out that this is a contractual requirement that was in the fireman's contract. And so we're following through because this was inadvertently left out of the budget. We want to make sure that they get what they deserve. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Moving to resolution 230, please.
Resolution 230 of 2021, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, to adjust expenditures in the 2022 general fund budget as follows.
On the question, Alderman Rennie Scott Childress.
Yes, I'd just like to point out that this is for an increase in the part-time line for the work being done by our zoning officer, Eric Kitchen. I'd like to appreciate the work he's doing. We understand the stresses that he's been under as we've had an increasing need for his services. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Moving to resolution 231, please.
Resolution 231 of 2021, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, to adjust offsetting revenues and expenditures in the 2022 general fund budget as follows.
On the question. Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Moving to resolution 232, please.
Resolution 232 of 2021, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, to adopt the 2022 fee schedule as per attached.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Moving to resolution 233, please.
Resolution 233 of 2021, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, to adjust expenditures in the 2022 general fund budget as follows.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Moving to resolution 234, please.
Resolution 234, 2021, resolution of the Council of the City of Kingston, New York, to adjust expenditures in the 2022 general fund budget as follows.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Remind folks to mute yourself. There's unmuted people on YouTube, and so anybody who's watching is hearing us and people in their homes. Thank you. Resolution 235, please.
Resolution 235 of 2021, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, requesting an addition to contingency in the amount of $54,154 to adjust the 2022 general fund budget as follows.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Moving to resolution 236, please.
Resolution 236 of 2021, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing the move of the base proportion ratio to 54.78658% homestead and 45.21342% non-homestead for the 2022 tax year.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Moving to resolution 237, please.
Resolution 237 of 2021. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, to adjust expenditures in the 2022 general and sewer fund budget to reduce proposed mayor's salary.
On the question? Alderman Patrick O'Reilly. Can you stand, please, and use the microphone?
Thank you, President Strong. Mayor asked for a $10,000 raise because 2 years ago, we had discussed with him the idea of increasing the mayor's pay to keep the job in line with other cities of similar size, population, so that we can attract candidates for our mayor who are qualified and willing to do that job at that rate of pay. The next year, in the budget, we gave him $5,000 extra in his pay. Next year, COVID hits, the mayor comes to us and says, due to the fact that COVID has hit and with the uncertainty of our future, I'm not going to put the pay raise in the budget this year. I thought that was noble of him, no pun intended. I thought it was a nice gesture that he did there. Knowing that we're still trying to keep the mayor's pay, in line with other mayors of similar sized cities. Well, this year, now the third year, the pay should have gone up another 5, but it didn't last year. Now we're deciding, what to do here. The mayor had asked for a $10,000 increase to keep that increase going. The financial state of the city is in good shape, according to our accountants and all the information that we have. We're doing much better than we thought we'd be doing coming out of COVID. So I urge you to vote against the decrease in the mayor's salary. I urge you to keep on the path an idea that we need to have pay in line, so that when the mayor may or may not, in 2 years be our mayor, and surely he will not be our mayor forever. We need to have those salaries in line so that we can get qualified people into town here. Now this is not doing that. We made an agreement. So I would like to either amend this resolution for the full 10,000, which we all agreed on 3 years ago, so that the salary is in line with the others. I think that would be in keeping with good practice, and we have the money in the budget, $50,000 plus, to be able to do such an action. that's going into contingency. This would not change our bottom line of our budget. This would be giving the mayor the raise that we had agreed upon 3 years earlier. If you'd allow me to amend this resolution for the full 10,000.
We could do that if you want to make a motion, or
I'd like to make a
we
motion
could
to
vote,
amend this.
we could vote on this. And then make a motion afterwards for the 10,000, but you want to make a motion right now to amend this? Because what could happen, Patrick, is we could take a vote on this. If it is rejected, then we could make a motion to have it still to the $10,000.
Wonder if it's approved.
That was what I was told, Bill, though I'm seeing a shake of the head by our comptroller.
What? How do I proceed?
We're going to vote on resolution 237.
Okay.
Because I'm just not sure that we can make that amendment, because I'm seeing comptroller Dewey shake his head behind you.
Okay.
So let's vote on this. You
All
can
right.
continue if you would like. But
Thank you. We'll vote on it.
All right, thank you. Alderman Rennie Scott Childress.
Thank you. I want to make it clear that any vote to change the salary here should be contingent on the office, not the person. So when we first talked about increasing the salary a couple of years ago, the idea was for the office, not the person. I'm also a little bit concerned about this idea of using increased pay to attract quality candidates. If we want to do that, we need to move to a city manager system form of government. People run for office because they want to serve. And the idea that we're just going to increase the amount of money here to attract candidates, I find bothersome. We do want to make sure that the amount of money that is paid is adequate to the position. And so in looking at that, we made some calculations a couple of years ago, but I've shared with all of you calculations in which we see that $90,000 is the upper limit of cities that are similar in size to Kingston in terms of population. We've seen too that Kingston is already at $80,000. We're in the upper level of the 10 cities that I pointed out to you. If you take the 10 cities that are closest to Kingston in terms of population, and you average out the latest salary that those cities are paying, the amount is actually $78,000, which puts our mayor right in line with the average. The mayor's office right in line for the average. I want to make it clear too that when we talk about this idea of future increases in salary, Corporation Council made it very clear to us that any individual council could not encumber a later council. We could talk about a plan, but we could not lay out future expenditures for future common councils. So, you know, at this point, given I do agree that we're in a pretty good financial position, but we also know that there's some potential financial headwinds out there. So I'm a little concerned about increasing the pay here. I also want to point out that if we increase this pay from $5,000 to $10,000, that's $5,000 less that we'll have to work with if we have to pay management confidential employees an increase due to increasing CSEA salaries. So for all of those reasons, I am in favor of remaining of this particular resolution so that we keep the mayor's pay, the office of the mayor's pay at $5,000.
Thank you. And just to clarify, and then I'll call on you to clarify, a no vote or yes vote for this resolution is saying $5,000 raise. A no vote for this resolution, if there's 5 votes in favor or more, then it would go to the 10,000 raise. Okay, so you know what you're voting for. All right. Alderman Doug Hoops.
What's that now, Andrew? Sorry, President. Can you repeat that, please?
Sure. If you vote yes on resolution 237, then you are voting for the $5,000 raise. If you vote no on this resolution, it automatically goes to the $10,000 that the mayor proposed in the original budget.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You're good? So yes,
Yes.
5,000, no, 10,000.
That is correct.
Could I have a chance to speak again when you get a chance?
Yeah, I call Alderman Doug Coop, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. I enthusiastically agree with my colleague, Alderman O'Reilly. We set out a plan 3 years ago to systematically raise the mayor's salary in bite-sized elements that we could handle, the budget could handle it. Things got tough for a while, and we kind of backed off on that. The mayor, I have to thank him for being willing to do so. But now we're back on the track where we're doing quite well, and I see absolutely no reason to not go forward with the original plan. I reject all these comparisons and means and averages with other cities. Kingston is moving ahead. Let's be a leader. Thank you.
Alderman Patrick O'Reilly.
Yeah, thanks, President Sean. I urge you to vote no, so that the mayor gets a $10,000 raise that we had talked about, maybe even agreed upon in those sessions back when he came to us and wanted to align the salary of the mayor. I think he truly did come to us when he did that 3 years ago and saw that the mayor's salary, and I think the mayor sees that most salaries here now, he sees it. We've been talking to him for a while, but now he sees that most salaries in the city are below where they should be compared to others, even what Doug said, about us, the city of Kingston doing so well. We should be making sure that all our employees are well taken care of, from the top to the bottom. I'm not saying we have to have the highest paid mayor in New York State. No, I don't want that. And I think Rennie's right. I think it should be a job where you want to be there and it's not just for the money. But I also think when you get into the mayor job, a strong mayor's job, a strong mayor, which is a little different than just a mayor, you have certain responsibilities to take care of. You have family too. It's a full-time job. It's not a part-time job. If you do it right, it's a full-time job. And they should be paid as a full-time employee. I think a few things. One, we made an agreement with the mayor to go ahead with this. Two, he was a really nice guy. Give him back $5,000, right? Not put it in the budget. Say, here, it's COVID time. I'm willing to sacrifice here. I thought that was pretty stand-up, a pretty good thing he did there. So, he's doing a good job running the city. He deserves a raise like everybody in the city of Kingston deserves a raise on the city of Kingston. We all seem to agree on that. I think you guys should vote no on this so that the mayor gets a $10,000 raise. And I just think it's the right thing to do here. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Michelle Hirsch.
Thank you, Madam President. This agreement that was made before I was in office 3 years ago, or plan, if what you will call it, to raise the mayor's salary $5,000 a year, I believe should be upheld. This was an agreement that was made in good faith. Many people, many employees within the state of New York, raises were held in abeyance during the COVID crisis, and they are receiving them now. I support that the mayor be given the $10,000 raise as per what was agreed to previously. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on the question? Alderwoman Rita Worthington.
Thank you, Madam President. So, you know, I hear you when you say that it was a good faith effort on the mayor to not accept the raise last year because of the pandemic. And, you know, I give him a lot of credit for that. You know, I appreciate that. I do want to point out, though, as Rennie said, it wasn't for the specific person, it was for the office of mayor. Secondly, our mayor was not the only person that did not accept his raise or his salary last year. There were many that did it. You look at our federal officials, one of them being Antonio Delgado, who's our representative. He withheld or forewent his whole salary. And I did not see him come back asking for it again. I took it as a good faith attempt on the mayor saying, no, let's leave this, let's not take this raise. And then for him to come back and ask for double the next year, I just find that difficult to grasp. So I will be voting a yes on this to keep it at the 5,000.
Anybody else? Alderman Rennie Scott Childress.
I'd like to point out that when we were talking about this idea 3 years ago, we also were talking about increasing the salaries. We made a plan for the Common Council as well. We made a plan to each other. We said that we would raise our salaries commensurately till we got to a level that we thought Common Council people should be paid. We forewent that increase last year, and we're foregoing that increase this year. So I see the $5,000 as something of a compromise. The mayor did a good faith thing last time and said he wouldn't put a 5,000 increase in the salary for the office. We can continue to raise it 5,000 for the next following years. And by the time that we get to the next election, that office will then be receiving a rate of pay that's far higher than what it currently is. And that puts us with cities that have higher populations. So I think that $5,000 is an appropriate compromise in this case and an appropriate level to set the raise.
Thank you. Anybody else on the question? Is there anybody unclear with what a yes or no vote means here?
One more time, please.
If you vote yes for resolution 237, you are saying the raise should be $5,000. If you vote no for the resolution, you are saying the raise should be $10,000. I will call for the vote. If you could also raise hands for this one, please. All in favor of resolution 237?
Aye.
All opposed? Resolution 237 fails with a vote of 4-5. The votes were Jeffrey Ventura Morel, Rennie Scott Childress, Rita Worthington, and Steve Shabbat, 4, and the other 5 opposed. Moving to resolution 238, please.
Resolution 238 of 2021, a bond ordinance for the capital plan, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of $1,540,500 bond of the city of Kingston, Ulster County, New York, to pay the cost of various city purposes in and for said city.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Long roll.
Oh, it's long roll. Sorry, thank you. Long roll, please.
Alderman Ventura Morel. Alderman Koo.
Aye.
Alderman Scott Childress.
Aye.
Alderman Worthington. Alderman Tallman. Alderman Davis. Alderman O'Reilly.
Yes.
Alderman Shabbat. Alderman Hirsch.
Yes.
Bond is adopted 9-0. Moving to resolution 239, please.
Resolution 239 of 2021, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, to adjust the 2022 general fund budget.
On the question? Hearing no discussion?
This one? Wait, I'm sorry, which one? This is 239, isn't it?
239. Oh, I'm not looking at the resolutions, but I can find out right now. Yes. Alderman Doug Coop and then Alderman Rennie Scott Childress. Doug Coop.
Thank you, Madam President. Over the last 3 or 4 budget cycles, this mayor, assisted by our very able controller, has done an outstanding job of meeting budget objectives without raising the tax levy. I don't think it's incumbent. They know how to manage the budget. They do a good job. I don't think it's incumbent upon this council to micromanage everything that the mayor does. The mayor has set out a plan. He needs this person to do tasks that he has clearly identified. I don't think it's up to say, no, you can't do this. You can't have that person. We give him a budget, and as long as he meets the budget, we should be happy. If he doesn't, then we can take steps to correct it. I fully support his request for the position of chief of staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Rennie Scott Childress.
The management consultant guru, Simon Sinek, says that the role of a manager is to enable his department heads to do the work. The reason that the mayor stated for this position was twofold, believing that it would be half time for ARPA funds and half time for a whole series of tasks and responsibilities that, to my eye, look like things that a good manager should be doing. They're the things that the mayor should be doing himself. He should be giving the work to his subordinates. I agree that the mayor and Comptroller Tui have done a great job in terms of our budget. And so that's part of the reason that I'm thinking he doesn't need this position. Things are going well. He doesn't need a new person to do those things. The aim of this particular resolution, too, was a concern related to the management of the ARPA funds. Our suggestion to the mayor in removing this position was that there should be a full-time person dedicated to the ARPA funds, and that person should be paid out of the ARPA funds. That would mean no cost to the city's budget, and it would mean somebody who we could hire at a high level, whether it's a contractor, somebody with specialized knowledge in this field, or an individual who would have the skills to take up the distribution and management of the ARPA funds. So, and I agree with Doug too. When we see ways that we believe the mayor is going off the tracks, it's our responsibility to help him get back on the tracks. And that's exactly what we're doing with this particular resolution. So it's not clear to me either that we need this new structure. Because in essence, that's what's being created here. It would be a way to remove the mayor from direct contact with his department heads, or it could be used that way. And that's our concern. We want a mayor who's hands-on. We want a mayor who's deeply involved with all his department heads, someone who knows exactly what's going on, and someone who's able to raise their morale by being a good leader without necessarily creating more administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on the question? Hearing no one else, I'll call for the vote. Patrick. Always the last minute. Alderman Patrick O'Reilly.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you. This position is being created and it's going to cause some kind of divide between the mayor and the department heads. That is not what we need. We don't know what the repercussions of this is with the union, how the mayor will be interacting with the department heads. It doesn't seem as hands-on as I'd like to see our mayor. So I'm going to vote no on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Hearing Alderwoman Michelle Hirsch.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm not clear exactly as to why this position of chief of staff is needed. I would be in favor of considering an ARPA fund manager once we know what our ARPA funding plan is moving forward. That hasn't been presented to us and decided. So I feel like it's a premature position to fill. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes. If you vote yes to resolution 239, you are eliminating the chief of staff position from the budget. If you vote no to resolution 239, the chief of staff remains in the budget.
Yes, elimination, no, it stays.
Correct. Anybody else need further clarification? Then I will call for the vote. Can you please raise hands? All in favor for resolution 239? So. Opposed?
Opposed is,
Resolution is adopted 7-2. The 2 no votes were Alderman Coop and Alderman Tollerman.
Excuse me, Madam President.
Yes.
May I speak? Yes. I'd like to suspend the rules of the council in order to discuss a pay increase of $1,000 for the council members in this budget that we're approving now. Again, that would only be $9,000. We have $50,000 in contingency. That would be $10,000 for the mayor, another $10,000 for the, another $9,000 for the councilman. That would only be $19,000. It would not affect the bottom line of the budget. And I hope that someone would second my resolution to suspend the rules for a moment so we can discuss this.
I have to deny this motion. It's out of order.
When would it be in order?
We should have had this conversation in committee.
That's why I'm suspending the rules, though.
But
That's
this
why I'm
has,
asking you to
but
suspend the rules.
this hasn't been on the agenda with the new transparency laws. We can't vote on something like this. And if you would like to hear from Kevin to have somebody with a law degree, or you could see that he's nodding his head.
I'm being improper. Are you sure?
Also off the record, but you forgot that I'm part of the council too.
And a big raise for our president. All right, I tried. All right.
We all love you for trying, Patrick. Moving to resolution 240, please.
Resolution 240 of 2021. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York to adjust the General and Sewer Fund 2022 budget.
On the question? Hearing no discussion? Oh, sorry.
I just wanted this is in regard to the CSEA.
Yes. Well, let me pull it out. Yes.
Clarify if you're voting yes and no on this as well. So everybody's cleared.
Oh, I'm on the wrong one. A no vote or a yes vote on this would be putting the money set aside into the contingency.
Sorry, say that one more time.
If you vote yes on this resolution, you are voting to put the money aside for CSEA raise not the raises into contingency. If you vote no on this, they will automatically go in place as proposed.
They stay in the budget, they don't get paid.
Correct. They stay in the budget.
We have a moment.
I'm also getting a text from yes moves raises to contingency. No leaves raises in budget as mayor presented.
All of them?
Just for the CSEA employees. Is that correct? Yes. Just CSEA employees, not management. So either a yes vote moves the money into contingency. A no vote means it goes automatically into the budget as the mayor presented. Alderman Bernie Scotchos?
We discussed this last night. So I don't
Just, sure, point of order.
My understanding of this is that moving the money to contingency.
My understanding is that moving the money into contingency will not affect the memorandum of agreement and that either way, whether the money is in contingency or in the budget lines, nothing can happen in order to get paid to the workers in CSEA until we have a final memorandum of agreement.
That is correct.
Is that clear?
The MOA is going to go to finance tomorrow. It has to be approved by the committee and then approved by the council before anything happens anyway. So we're really just talking about where we're putting this money into contingency to hold off and to make sure everybody approves of the MOA, or to do it before the MOA is approved by the council. So it's more of a timeline. Alderman Doug Hoop.
Please once again state what a yes vote means and what a no vote means. I just want to be sure, absolutely sure on this.
To vote yes on resolution 240, you are voting to put the monies aside into contingency until the council could prove the MOA. To vote no on this, it goes right into the budget before the MOA is in place.
Thank you.
But the MOA still needs to be approved. So it's a timeline. Sure. It's just for CSEA. It is not for management confidential. It is not. It is. Yeah, this was all discussed in length in committee and in caucus. So, yeah, no, I know. I want you to be confident with your vote, but does everybody know what we're voting for? Does anybody have anything on the question? We get to the vote. Alderwoman Michelle Hirsch.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to say that I fully support our CSEA workers, and by moving this money into contingencies, we're not taking care of them. We just need to have a separate vote tomorrow night on the memo of agreement. The money is in the budget for our CSEA members. Thank you.
Anyone else on the question? Alderman Tony Davis.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, I want to echo what Alderwoman Hirsch is saying. And I just want to make clear that I support the CSEA workers and our lowest and group of employees, union employees that we have. And so I'm in favor of this money and getting to them sooner than later. And so that their costs are their salaries can and be increased, and so they would be able to have a comfortable salary here in the city of Kingston. So the sooner we can get this money to them, and the better off. Thank you.
Alderman Rennie Scott Childress.
Thank you. I agree with my two colleagues. Absolutely. I think all of us are in favor of increasing the pay of our CSEA workers. This is absolutely vital. The question here is, what's the proper way to do this? The way that this particular set of raises was presented to us was somewhat unorthodox, because it was presented in the budget as opposed to coming from negotiations first between the city and the union. So by putting the money in contingency, all we're doing is following what looks to be a better and more proper procedure. And as soon as, if we all look at the MOA tomorrow night and we all agree, we can speed the money through. It's just a question of also passing a committee report to move the money from contingency into the lines. But it just feels much more responsible to do it that way, given all the questions we've had about the procedure through which the raises were calculated and figured out. But that's all for discussion tomorrow night. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, just going to confirm this for you all so you know what the vote is. For resolution 240, a yes vote moves the money to contingency to wait until the MOA. A no vote leaves the raises in budget as mayor presented before the MOA is in place. Does anybody need further clarification? I'm going to call for the vote and I ask you to raise your hands. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 8-1. The no vote is Alderman Doug Coop. Moving to resolution 241, please.
Resolution 241 of 2021. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, requesting approval of the city's general fund budget for the fiscal year 2022 as amended, with total expenditures of $46,721,659.
On the question? Alderman Jeffrey Ventura Morel and then Alderman Rennie Scott Childress.
Thank you, Madam President. I will be a no vote on this as a statement for the management confidential salaries. Nobody knows how those raises were arrived at. It seems a little bit confusing that some people got bigger raises than others. Some people that should have gotten raises didn't, and nobody received a review to determine those raises, or at least those reviews have not been shown to anyone in writing. So for that reason, I'll be a no vote on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Rennie. Turning the floor over to Alderwoman Rita Worthington.
Thank you, Madam President. So as we just discussed, we want to see all of our city workers get monies that they deserve, raises, all of them, meaning our management confidential workers as well. We've had extensive discussions about this budget. We had department heads come in and talk to us, and every time we asked the question, we often got answers as, I don't know, I don't know. So I'm also going to be a no on this resolution because I'm not entirely sure of how the numbers were arrived at. And so I want to be comfortable about voting for something. And I want to be sure about it. And I'm not right now. So I'm going to be a no on this.
Thank you. Alderman Rennie Scott Childress.
I'm following the footsteps of my two colleagues here in the sense that I'm seriously conflicted. I think there's a lot of good stuff in this budget. I'm proud that the mayor and the comptroller were able to produce another budget that's at the same tax levy, same general expenditures as the last 5 to 6 years. I think that's quite an accomplishment to be admired. At the same time, as we've talked about, we've looked at the question of salaries and pay. And part of the problem with the management confidential increases that we've seen is we see no clear justification for a large number of them. Some of them are clearly instituted because somebody position took on more duties, more responsibilities. That's perfectly fine. We approve that. We approve of that. When people take on more work, they should also receive more benefits. However, a lot of these increases in salary, we have no idea where they're from. They're completely arbitrary as far as we can tell. We received no information about why they were given, what they were deserving of. Moreover, we saw a number of management and confidential employees get no increase in salary. And I heard over and over again from them, it felt like a slap in the face. It felt like a slap in the face. There's something very wrong in this process from what we can see at this point. And the problem is that the management confidential management handbook that we approved, that was negotiated between the mayor and his management staff, has several provisions that require certain things. One of those requirements is that all management confidentials should be paid more than CSEA employees. Under the current budget, the way it's worked, that's not going to be the case. It also requires that before management folks get a retention increase, that they have an annual review, and that they also see their a salary comparison with similar positions in other cities. This has not happened, or if it has, we haven't seen it. Moreover, as Rita pointed out, we asked department head after department head if they'd ever had a performance review. None had. This is required in the management handbook. The mayor came before us and didn't seem to be aware of that. Then he claimed that he didn't have to write them down because it doesn't say they have to be written down in the handbook. I've talked to many people who work in similar kinds of organizations, and they're just flabbergasted that these are not written down, that there's not an annual review of some sort. So this is my concern. We don't understand where these figures came from. We don't understand the rationales. And so it makes it difficult for us to consider these. At the same time, it does seem like it's up to management confidential to approach the mayor and ask and follow through with the process that's outlined in the agreement that they set up. So I'm very concerned about this particular aspect of the budget. And because of that, it's not big enough for me to overwhelm the rest of the budget. So I think I will be a yes, but I reserve my right to change my mind in the next minute and a half. Thanks.
Anybody else on the question? Alderman Tony Davis and then Alderman Doug Hoop.
Thank you, Madam President. As my colleagues are mentioned, yes, we went back and forth in this during our budget hearing meetings. And again, as it's already been mentioned, there's no understanding of where some people got huge increases, some had none, and it was mind-boggling how this was done. And I just want to make sure I clarified for all my colleagues here, and if you could, what a yes and a no is going to mean on this as well.
This is the full budget. This is not just the management confidential. You're voting on the budget right now. So yes, a yes vote approves of the budget with the changes made. And a no means you're voting against the budget, and then it reverts back to 2021 budget. No, it does not.
President Shaw, point of order, please.
Corp counsel is telling me that that was correct. It reverts to 2021. So John, if you could send me a text to clarify. Yes, Patrick?
This is the entire budget. In this budget is the raises for the management confidential. Is that correct? They would stay in there and those people would then receive those raises? Is that just point of order? Is that what's included?
Yes. So there was no general bill for management confidential increases. Each of those is a line item. But the mayor did say to us on November 16th that there would be an increase, because the other way that the management handbook allows for increases is when CSEA gets an increase, management is supposed to get an increase as well. But the mayor did not have an idea of what plan he was going to follow for management increases. All right, so we don't know what that percentage is going to be, so theoretically, once CSA gets its raises, all management confidential will get some increase, but so those who are at 0 right now, they get the CSEA increase. Those who are getting a 20% increase, they'll get maybe 20% plus whatever the new increase is. Does that clarify? Am I good?
So if someone's getting a 20% increase, they'll get that, and then if they
the answer is
decide to enact the fact that they're supposed to get a raise according to the CSEA, they may get another 11.5% raise.
Right, but we don't know because there's no plan.
So some people may be getting over 30% raises in their salary.
We don't know. We haven't seen the plan.
Right, and this stuff all needs to be talked about in committee. I know it has been a little bit, but I'm just trying to get clarification because I'm being told one thing by Corp Counsel and another thing by the comptroller. So they're looking at the charter, I believe, and figuring out what a yes and what a no vote would be. So if you could all just please hold. Thank you. Okay, this is according to our charter. You vote yes, you're voting for the budget with the changes that you've made in the previous few resolutions. If you vote no for this, it goes to what the mayor's proposed budget is. So basically you just wiped away everything you just changed. And it goes to the original mayor's proposal. So you're not voting down the budget. A no budget does not go back to 2021, and this is all according to our charter. So that's the difference. You either vote yes, and you get the changes you've made, or you vote no, and you just lose all the changes that you've made, and it goes to the mayor's proposed budget.
Thank you, Madam President.
Alderman Steve Shabbat.
Thank you. I will be voting yes for the budget, in total, but I just want to take a couple seconds here to express my unhappiness and dissatisfaction with the way that the management confidential raises were arrived at or not arrived at. Some people, as everybody's been pointing out, some people got nothing, some people got substantial raises.
There didn't seem to be any regard for merit. So I'm a little unhappy with the process, but I will be voting yes for the budget.
Thank you. Alderman Doug Coop, and then
Yes, thank you. The document I have here for Resolution 241 in the second whereas states whereas said estimates as further adjusted by recommendations of the Finance Audit Committee have been accepted by the mayor and made part of this recommendation. I don't believe the mayor has accepted the elimination of the chief of staff position. He certainly hasn't accepted the lowering of the salary. This is absolutely wrong. In addition to myself not in agreement with some of these changes in the budget, the document is wrong. So I will be a no vote.
Doug, I sent you the corrected resolution in an email.
It's in the package.
I emailed you the corrected resolution.
Notwithstanding that, I will be a no vote.
sorry, Alderman Jeffrey, I'm sorry, Rita, Alderwoman Rita Worthington, and then both, this is the second time on the floor, just so you.
Right. I just want to thank you for the clarification because that moves me to change my vote now. Because should I vote no, then that means that we wipe out the amendment, the changes that we voted on previously. So I need to change my vote to yes. However, I am, still, I'm not happy, as Alderman Shabbat said, about the way this budget was put together. And I just want to go on the record as saying that.
Thank you. Alderman Jeffrey Ventura Morel.
Thank you, Madam President. Given what we've just heard, I will also change my vote to a yes, but I maintain my protest about how some of the management confidential staff are being treated with these raises. Thank you.
Anybody else on the question? Alderman Patrick O'Reilly.
Thank you, President Shaw. I agree with what everyone said here. It was confusing. I didn't understand. Now that I've looked into it a little bit more, I understand the process a little bit more. What the mayor did was he talked to the CSCA people and they made an agreement separate. I talked to the CSCA president. They made an agreement. That CSCA president never talked to the mayor about these raises at all because it doesn't have to concern him at all, right? It's not a concern of his. So this is a two different separate parts here. And I think that the first part with the CSCA is rather well done. And I don't think there's many people complaining about that part of the budget. However, this part where we're talking about the management confidential is confusing. I don't understand it. I don't understand why some people are getting raises and some people aren't. There's been no real clarification on that for us. Of course, I'm going to vote yes on this because the no vote doesn't seem very pleasant. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anybody else? Again, just to clarify, a yes vote, this is voting for the budget with all the changes that you have made this evening. A no vote would wipe away the changes that you've made and go back to the mayor's proposed budget. And this is our charter process. I'll ask for hands in the air, please. All in favor of resolution 241? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 8-1. The opposition vote is Alderman Doug Coop. Moving to resolution 242, please.
Resolution 242 of 2021. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, recommending the approval of the total of $17,730,094 in taxes to be raised by the city's 2022 budget. This amount includes a tax levy of $17,650,000 $940 and prorated taxes of $79,154.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. Alderman Patrick O'Reilly.
At a meeting the other night, summing up the budget. We had over $50,000 left in that budget that we could have given back to the people of the city of Kingston. But it was like, nobody wanted to give that money back to people of the city of Kingston. Even though the budget was settled and we had everything in line and we had $50,000. I was like, yay, we got 50, hey guys, we did this. We got $50,000 left over. That's fantastic. And we kept the same budget as last year. That was fantastic. Really nice. If we made some kind of gesture back to the taxpayers of the city of Kingston with that $50,000. No, what happens? Income people just run in to spend the money. We can do better. We could balance that budget, and we got $50,000. We should give that money back. We did something to give it back to the community, and let these people know that we're trying extra hard to keep the taxes down in the city of Kingston. Just saying. Thank you very much.
Anybody else in the question? Hearing no more discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Moving to resolution 243, please.
Resolution 243 of 2021. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, requesting approval of the city's 2022 sewer fund budget with total expenditures of $5,285,089.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Moving to resolution 244, please.
Resolution 244 of 2021. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, to approve the city's sewer rate at an amount of $6.51 per unit.
On the question? Alderman Patrick O'Reilly.
I'd just like to make it noted that the sewer rate is going up, which means it's going to cost more to live in your home in the city of Kingston. Just want to make that clear. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Moving to resolution 245, please.
Resolution 245 of 2021. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing the transfer of any and all of the 10 tax foreclosed properties to Rubco.
On the question? Alderman Patrick O'Reilly, going out with a bang here.
Thank you. Property values are higher, 30%, 35% higher than they were. I think we need to take a closer look at the foreclosed properties in the city of Kingston and not just give every single one of them to Rubco to rehab. I think it's a great idea. I like Rubco. I like what they do, and I hope they do a great job on this project. But we also have to keep the city of Kingston, the people of the city of Kingston in mind too. When we have a windfall of money, like property values going up, we need to take a look at all these properties very carefully, see which ones have the greatest value, and then sell them and use that money to help the people of the city of Kingston. If you want to use it for housing, use it for housing, right? But we just can't give away all these properties all the time. We should be taking a really good look at these properties, assessing their value, and then making a good decision about what to do with that money. Not just give every single house that comes into foreclosure away. And that's what seems to be happening now in the city of Kingston in my tenure here. the last 4 years. So I think it would be financially responsible for the future council to take a look at that very carefully and see where you're putting these houses, where that money could be, if the city could be, make more money off these houses and then invest that money in housing or other projects that need to be done in the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Alderman Rennie Scott Childress.
Down the block from me is a house that the land bank rehabilitated. Our land bank has actually done quite well. It's had some hiccups at the very start, but in terms of the usual amount of time from founding to first housing rehabs, our land bank has beat the average. That household is now inhabited and owned by a young man, single parent with triplets. He's ecstatic to have this place. Moving these houses that are foreclosed, that are in bad shape to RUPCO, we know that RUPCO will be able to develop the houses relatively quickly, do a wonderful job. We've seen the great work that they've done on larger facilities. They will also then be able to sell these houses to first-time home buyers who are at the very low end of the income scale. This is one of the examples of how the city of Kingston has been working to expand housing for new home buyers as well as for low-income folks. RUPCO has built a number of projects. We also helped K&R to hold on to our 2 elderly low-income housing facilities, Yasmin Towers and Governor Clinton. So this is just another part of what we're doing to help the people at the low end of the income scale to find housing and to be able to put down roots here in Kingston. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Alderwoman Michelle Hirsch.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to say that I fully support this transfer of the 10 foreclosed properties to RUPCO. We will be earning back our property taxes of $472,000. We'll have 10 homes renovated at affordable levels for new homeowners, and we'll have homes back on the tax rolls. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Alderman Patrick O'Reilly, second time on the floor.
I'm not saying it's not a good idea. It's a great idea. I'm saying you need to take a look as financially responsible people in the city of Kingston for the people of the city of Kingston. We need to take a really close look at these properties, see what their value is, and then make the right decision. Not just say this is the right decision. That's not responsible. The responsible thing to do is to take a look at these properties, assess them, and then, and only then, do we hand them over to someone that could do something with them, like RUPCO or the land bank. First, before we do that, we need to make sure we're doing the right thing for the citizens of Kingston financially, and maybe we might even do better than we may even be able to help more people with the money that we earn from these properties ourselves in the city of Kingston. That's what the city of Kingston used to do. We used to auction off these houses, right? Get the money, put it in our funds, use our funds the way we see fit. Obviously, we're in a housing crisis. We could use those funds to support housing in the city of Kingston. But if we give away these houses at tax dollar rates, we won't have that extra money that we could have earned from the financial boom, the real estate boom we're in right now. We could maybe house 2 families, Rennie, or 3 families with the increase in prices here. I get it we can do that, but we have to be smart too, and make sure we're not losing, sight of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to help people, but we can't help people if we're not making good financial decisions. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on the question? Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Moving to resolution 246, please.
Resolution 246 of 2021. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing adopting an additional bond ordinance for the Henry Street Sewer Project construction and construction costs.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Moving to resolution 247. It's a bond, so we'll do a long roll.
Resolution 247, bond ordinance. An ordinance authorizing the issuance of an additional $360,000 bond of the City of Kingston, Ulster County, New York, to pay costs in connection with the Henry Street, Furnace Street intersection sanitary sewer improvement projects in and for said city. Alderman Koo?
Yes.
Alderman Scott Childress?
Aye.
Alderman Worthington? Yes. Alderman Толерman? Alderman Davis?
Yes.
Alderman O'Reilly?
Yes.
Alderman Shabbat? Alderman Hirsch?
Yes.
Alderman Ventura Morel?
Yes.
Bond is adopted 9-0. Moving to resolution 248, please.
Resolution 248 of 2021. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, recommending approval for adding Building Safety Division charges to the 2022 property tax bills.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Moving to resolution 249, please.
Resolution 249 of 2021. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, recommending approval for adding Department of Public Works charges to the 2022 property tax bills.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Moving to resolution 250, please.
Resolution 250 of 2021. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, recommending approval for adding Water Department charges to the 2022 property tax bills.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Moving to resolution 251, please.
Resolution 251 of 2021. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, requesting authorization of the partial abandonment of Fair Street Extension and authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documents necessary.
On the question? Alderman Don Толерman.
Thank you, Madam President. So this has been a very long and torturous process. And I really appreciate all the people that wrote and spoke for and against the project. And I just want to say that it's not a perfect project. And there are, there's some things I don't love about it. But in the end, we need to pay for our tax base, to create jobs. We need economic activity here. And this project will be bringing economic activity. And with that come more people who are using our stores and our restaurants, spending money in Ulster County, creating more tax revenue. And yes, we do need to build affordable housing, and we should. But we need this project for the benefit of the entire city. So I'm in favor of this resolution, providing the developer the land for the project on Fair Street Extension.
Thank you. Alderwoman Rita Worthington.
Madam President, so I'm a bit conflicted on this resolution. Almost feel like I have buyer's remorse here. But the last public hearing that we had on this, I was on the other side of that. And the technical difficulties were insane. I think, and this is my opinion, my personal opinion, I don't know if I could move forward with this until or unless we have another public hearing where those that were on the virtual side, where we could hear all of them and they can have their voices heard. I know that written comment, I know the period was open, but hearing from people and reading letters is just not the same. And if you all were on the other side of that hearing, it really was not, it was not good. And so I'm conflicted. Still at this very moment, I haven't made up my mind on which way I'm gonna go with this. So by the time you get to me, I may know.
Thank you. Anybody else on the question? Alderman Tony Davis.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a lot of stuff written here. You'll just bear with me. I call on you to abandon the status quo of denying development in Uptown Kingston in favor of real change. The city residents requested this project via a survey. They wanted housing, parking, pedestrian park, public restrooms. This developers took on this project over 5 years ago. Every step they have made concessions and changes to this project after listening. The council of the city knew 5 years ago that this closure road would be needed to complete this development. We've had lawsuit after lawsuit filed against this project, and each and every time the courts have favored on the side of the developer and or the city, indicating that the Kingstonians should move forward. People talked about many personal testimonies in favor today. There was just as many personal testimonies in favor of the project last Thursday. People had the opportunity to come in, just like they did today, or send in a written comment in favor or against. That's the way it was before we got into COVID. You either came in person or you sent your written comments. We have people on today talking about ethics. And we have people up here last Thursday and today talking about someone's grandfather from 1962 who passed away almost 60 years ago. I'm talking about a man who's been passed away for so long who can't defend himself against what was said about him. I call on my fellow council members to vote on this closure of this road so that the Kingstonian can start to develop, to bring housing, jobs, parking, restrooms, and people to Uptown Kingston and the city as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Patrick O'Reilly.
Yep, just a point of order.
Go ahead.
The public hearing that Rita had spoken about, it was chaotic, I agree. Was everyone given the proper amount of time to respond? And was that clear that it's legal, that public hearing was okay and legal?
Doesn't always make it right.
Oh, I know that, Rita. I'm just asking if it is. I mean, is there any problem with that public hearing at all?
Corporation Council says no.
Okay, so the public hearing is accepted. Thank you.
Anybody else on the question? Alderman Jeffrey Ventura Morel.
Thank you, Madam President. Given the public comments we heard today, what I heard from my fellow Alderwoman Worthington, I was also on the other side of that public hearing, and it was challenging to understand and to hear what people were saying. I know we could go back and listen to the recording, but it's not the same. So as she just said, the fact that it's legal doesn't mean it was good. So I will be a no vote on this. I've always maintained, and this is not a comment on the project or anything to do with the project. This is about conveying public property. I've always maintained that if we're going to give away property that belongs to the residents of the city of Kingston, they should be the ones voting for it. So for that reason, I will be a no vote. Thank you.
Alderman Bernie Scott Childress, and then Alderman Don Tollerman.
I would just like to clarify one thing as I understand it. We're not quote unquote giving away the street. We're not deeding the street over to private company. The basic idea here is that there's going to be the construction of a public plaza over the area that's now the street. So the abandonment of the street is simply a reuse, if you will, to move it from its current use to being a public plaza, a place where people can gather, a place where people can wander, can look out to the north to see the mountains in the distance. Moreover, it's part of a project that's going to add lots of housing to the city of Kingston. We've had study after study that's demonstrated we need housing at all levels. We've done a lot, as I mentioned just a little while ago, to increase housing in the lower regions, working with RUPCO and other organizations. And this is a large project that's aimed at a middle range market. I see this as really crucial going forward as a way of creating more housing and a wonderful public place, just as long as people understand it's a transition of that area, not a giveaway or a loss of property per se to the city of Kingston.
Thank you. Alderman Tollerman, this is your second time on the floor, just note.
Hey, just to respond to what Rita and Jeffrey were saying, most importantly, the public did have the full opportunity tonight to go online or in person. So I think that was a big deal to make up for the fiasco, the technical problems. And the other point is that the public has had ample time and forum to make their opinions known over the last several years. So in my mind, it has been aired and there's been many opportunities for the public to speak. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else on the question? Alderwoman Michelle Hirsch.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to say that I was in attendance at the hearing. I then, that same evening, went home and I watched the hearing again on the Zoom via YouTube, and I have read all of the public comments that have been sent in. This has been a very, very, very difficult time for our community. And since I've been in office, the landscape has changed dramatically in our city. And what I'm voting on tonight is just the abandonment of the street. And I want to say that whether we call this an easement, discontinuance, abandonment, partial abandonment, vacated, decommissioned, demolished, closed, disposed, otherwise non-existent street, this street is no longer going to be a public thoroughfare. And our community, what I am hearing is that they do not want this to move forward. And so I will be a no vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on the question? Hearing no one else. Patrick O'Reilly. This is your second time.
No, it's not. I had a point of order the first time. I asked if I just had the point of order okay, thank you. This is my first time speaking on this subject. I know you don't believe me. You can't believe that, but it is. I kept my mouth shut the whole time on this one. I kept my mouth shut on this one the whole time. I listened carefully to everything that was said. The hill there is a steep hill. There's no reason to be on that hill unless you're walking up it, or you're walking down it, or you're riding your bike up it, or you're riding your bike down it. With this project, you're going to be able to walk out, look out over the mountains in this public area that has beautiful state-of-the-art bathrooms. Am I correct with that? Beautiful. I mean, I guess they're the newest and best public bathrooms that you can buy. Try to find a bathroom uptown, by the way, right? But we should be thanking these developers for coming to our town and providing that necessary housing that we've been talking about. And I've been talking to you guys about this. You don't create housing by putting restrictions on people. You don't create housing in the city of Kingston by saying, hey, you got a tenant in there? Well, that's going to be your tenant for the rest of your life and your children's life and anybody who inherits this house. You don't do that to people. You create housing and lower housing prices so that people can afford housing in the city of Kingston by creating housing. This is what these people are doing. This is what this development is doing. They're doing exactly what the city needs, is to create housing so that the prices, so there'll be more housing, so that the demand will be less and the prices will go down so people can live in this town again. And those apartments that these people may are going to be in are now not going to be gobbled up in the other housing market, in the rest of the housing market. So creating housing is the key to housing, not scaring off people from putting people in their housing because we're going to put some restrictions on them that they're going to have a tenant forever. That's not the way to create housing. These people are creating housing the way it should be created. They're building it, and they're building more housing. That's what we should be. That's what we should be doing. We should be incentivizing people to rent their home. Not saying to them, "Hey, you want to rent your home? Guess what? If you do that, we're never going to let you. We're never going to let you out of this lease. It's a forever lease." That's crazy. That's scary. That's going to scare away landlords. These people are doing the right thing. They're building housing. They're building housing stock in our town. And that's going to alleviate the pressures that we're feeling right now. We need to build more housing, and that'll alleviate more pressure on our housing market. That's how you do it. That's how you house people. You should be thanking Brad Jordan for this project. Do I agree with everything in the project? No, I don't agree with everything. Do I like everything about the project? No. It's a $50 million project coming to our town. Jobs, taxes being paid, sales taxes being paid uptown Kingston. This is everything we need for Kingston. Housing, a destination, tourism. And what we're giving up here as a city of Kingston, yes, are we giving up something? Yeah, we're giving up a street. But look what we're getting. We are being paid for this street. We're being paid in the taxes that these people pay. We're being paid in the fact that they're creating housing in our city and lowering everybody else's rates, because the more housing, less demand, lower the rates go. You all know that. They're doing all that for us. They are paying us for this land. They may not be giving us a check for this land. They're paying us in other ways. You got to think like that, okay? This is not a giveaway. We're getting a lot for what we're giving here. And we're getting exactly what we've been all begging for. So let's complete this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. If I could also see hands for this one, please. All in favor of resolution 251? Opposed? Resolution is passed 6-3. The no votes were Alderman Jeffrey Ventura Morel, Alderwoman Rita Worthington, Alderwoman Michelle Hirsch. Moving to the first reading of local law 1.
Local Law 1 of 2022 of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing the amendment to Chapter 332 of the Code of the City of Kingston entitled Rental Properties to prohibit evictions without good cause.
Alderman Tony Davis.
Discussion just last night that we were removing this first reading.
Somebody would need to make a motion to suspend the rules. Are you making a motion to suspend the rules?
I motion to suspend the rules to eliminate this first reading and to be sent back and for further discussion.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to suspend the rules. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Patrick O'Reilly. Our rules have been suspended and Tony, now can you make the motion So your motion would be to
I motion that we
send this back to
send this
committee?
back to committee for further discussion.
What was that? Oh, we do have to vote. I'm sorry, it's late. Can we vote to, so the vote is, we have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. I'm calling for the vote. All in favor? Opposed to suspend the rules? Okay, our rules have been suspended 6-3. Rita, Rennie, and Jeffrey voted against. So now our rules are suspended. If you want to make a motion.
And Alderman Ptolemy voted against it as well.
Oh, thank you. It still passes 5-4. Would you like to make a motion, Tony?
I motion that we send this legislation, if you want to say this, and back to committee for further discussion. This law, local law, back to committee for further discussion.
There is a motion on the floor to send this back to committee. Is there a second? Second by Michelle Hirsch. Any discussion? Alderwoman Rita Worthington, and then Alderman Rennie Scott Childress.
Thank you. So I think we can move forward with the first reading of this legislation and make amendments in the meantime, and then have a second reading in February. We've heard, we keep sending it back. We keep stalling and stalling and stalling. We don't have time to keep stalling on this legislation. You've heard people over and over and over and over talk about the eviction moratorium that's going to be up on January 15th. Over and over and over and over, people are telling us that they need help right now. We've already stalled on this. How much longer are we going to stall on it? You all talk about moving forward. The Kingstonian has been going on for years. We need to move forward on that. Why can't we move forward on helping people right now with this eviction that's going to be happening? And it's going to be chaotic. It's going to be a mess. And then what? Why do we keep sending this back? We can have a first reading, and then we can work on amendments in the interim, and then we can come back with it. But it's when we send it back, it keeps delaying the process. And we got to do something now. We got to stop this. Our job is to, Patrick, you talked about it. Our job is to help the residents of the city for which we serve. And I wish you all would be as passionate about this legislation as you are about the Kingstonian moving forward. Let's stop this and let's do something now.
Thank you. Alderman Rennie Scott Childress.
I'll admit to being a little confused because from what I understand, if we amend the legislation as folks were asking for, then that would mean that the new amendment would have to lead to another first reading. And so it seems to me either way, there has to be an amendment process. And because we don't amend at first readings, I'm concerned that if we don't do something now, I'm just thinking this through, it seems like sending it back, if we did send it back to committee, it would go to laws and rules this month. Is that correct?
Yes, sorry, people can't hear.
Yes, and so if we send it back to laws and rules and we talk about amending it, then it would go to committee. I mean, it would go potentially for a first reading in January, right?
That is correct.
It also would have the advantage at that time of everybody on the council would be, we would have our new members of the council. We would not be spanning the new year. So to some degree, this is procedural. And I know that's extremely frustrating to folks who've been speaking, but this is part of the issue of government. Government does sometimes move slowly because we're trying to find the right way to make sure we do the right thing. And what seems expedient is not always right. And this is a hard decision to make. So basically what I'm trying to figure out here as I'm talking to you is what's the most expedient way, what's the quickest way to get this to a vote. And so if we send it back to committee this month and we make a resolution, we resolve any issues that we've got there, then it would go to the council in January for a first reading and then for a second reading in February. So given that, I think that I will shift my thinking here and say I will be in favor of moving it back to committee so that we can talk about amending it there and making any necessary changes before we move it on. Because I'm worried that if we wait until January and we try to make amendments then we have another first reading, which would be in February, if I'm getting this right. And then the second reading would be in March. Does that sound, that's what it sounds like to me. If we had the
If you have a first reading in January.
well, then we
and
have
you
a
make
second reading in
amendments.
January. But if we make amendments at that second reading, then we have to have another first reading, right?
I think we could have the first reading then in the second reading in February.
Right, so then the first reading, if we followed this process, would be in February. It would be the second first reading.
Once it comes out to agree on the changes, then the next council meeting is going to be the first reading, which can be again.
If we send it back to
Send
committee.
it back now,
Yes.
which can be, okay. That's what.
So if you send it to committee, it goes to laws and rules this month. First reading January, if the committee approves of it and sends it out. Then it goes first reading January, second reading February, and the vote.
Okay, that's what I was saying when I stood up.
Tony Davis, Alderman Tony Davis.
So if that is what I was clarifying from what I understand in our discussion last night, that the procedural way was to send this back to have it corrected, because if it went back, then we'd go back to a first reading and then you wouldn't have it. And on top of that, it was stated that the new council will be able to hear it twice and be involved in any new adjustments. So it has nothing to do with the custodian. I was just trying to make sure that this was going to be a correct procedure, so we didn't have to go back to a first reading again. So that is why I was motioning to send it back.
All right. Alderwoman Rita Worthington.
Okay. Okay, that's my second time too. Okay, so, all right, so let me take back what I said because I misunderstood. No personal attack on my fellow aldermen here, so please don't take it that way. And so I understand it now and it's been clarified, and so I'm fine with that.
All right, so there is a motion and a second on Alderwoman Michelle Hirsch.
Thank you, Madam President. I was going to say that I was not in favor of sending it back prior to this evening, but based on public comment tonight, I am in favor of sending it back.
Okay. Anybody else before I call for the vote? So Patrick O'Reilly.
I urge you all to take a close look at this legislation. I think it's the opposite of what you're going to be doing in January, of what you want to do. It's going to accomplish the opposite thing. It's going to scare landowners into not renting their property out. And I think that's going to be, you're going to have the opposite effect here. Please be very careful of that. We don't want to have less housing in the city of Kingston because of this legislation. And I believe in the short term, it's a good Band-Aid, but in the long term, it's going to hurt the housing in the city of Kingston. And you're not going to accomplish what you really want to accomplish here with this legislation. It needs to be changed. You need to remove the fact that there's a forever tenant in there, and you need to remove the fact that when a property is sold, every tenant in it goes with that property. There has to be you have to have, give people the ability to own and sell their property. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to send this back to committee. I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor to send this back to committee? Opposed? 8-1 with the opposition vote, Alderman Don Tollerman. So this will be sent back to committee. Thank you. Before we leave, we do have a couple recognitions to be made. As I said 6 hours ago, 7 hours ago, this is the final meeting, council meeting for 5 of our members for the Common Council and our lovely Corp Council here. So I've asked a few council members to speak on behalf of our colleagues who are departing. So I asked Rita Worthington to present to Jeffrey Ventura Morel for his 4 years of service.
What time?
Okay, so Jeffrey, Alderman Ventura Morel. Yeah, stand up. So when I was asked to say a few parting words to my fellow councilmen here, I was like, yeah, I finally get a chance to get them, you know? But in all honesty, though, I just want to say that it has been an absolute pleasure to serve alongside of you in this council. And on the subcommittees, on the committees that we have been assigned to, it's been a pleasure to work with you. You know, we came into this council, serving on this council at the same time, I believe. And, you know, over the last 4 years, you know, I've watched how knowledgeable you have become on the city government. You know, I still have a lot to learn. So I was watching you, you know, and the way that you make decisions, your thoughtfulness and the wisdom that you use, you know, you have served with integrity. And I understand that. I need you all to understand that wisdom and integrity is not always used when we talk about politics and politicians, but you really have served with integrity, and I appreciate that. And so, you know, my mother used to say that every now and then, along comes someone who just is a genuinely good person and has a good heart, and I see that in you. And not only are you my colleague, but you are my friend. And so you know, many blessings to you as you go along on your journey. And my only request is that you stay in touch with me. And so congratulations on your 4 years. And again, many blessings to you, Jeffrey. And so the plaque says, Jeffrey Ventura Morel, Alderman, Ward 1, 2020 to 2021. In appreciation of dedicated service on the City of Kingston Common Council. Andrea Shout, President, City of Kingston Common Council, December 7th, 2021. And this is true. So God bless.
Thank you. There's been a lot of ups and downs in these last 4 years, but I'm only taking the positive today. And the biggest positive is all the friendships I've got to make in these last 4 years. So thank you all.
Thank you. To present to Alderman Doug Coop for his 6 years of service, Steve Shabbat.
Okay, Doug, this is really a distinct honor to give you this award tonight. I'm sure everybody knows by now, I've been here for a number of terms. Doug came with a resume that I couldn't believe. I mean, this guy has done it all. He's got a degree from Lehigh. He's got a PhD from RBI. So anyway, and besides that, he's a good swimmer. He's a world traveler. I mean, this guy has done it all. Am I a little jealous that he's smarter than me? Maybe just a tad, but I don't hold that against him. But all that aside, all those qualifications are really, they pale in comparison to what I see in Doug and what I've seen since the beginning with Doug. This guy embodies everything I would expect in a public service. His humility, his compassion, his kindness. He has a real affinity for reaching compromise. I've seen it over and over with this guy. He puts everything he has. I worked in different committees with him. I really leaned on him a lot with community development. He was my right-hand man. He's just been a pleasure and an honor to work with this guy. I can go on, but you know, he just epitomizes what everybody in public service should be. And on top of that, what would Doug be without Constance? We have enjoyed many dinners together. We sit together a lot. We even share the dance floor on occasion, the four of us. So besides Doug, he has brought someone else into the picture, and you know, we've all enjoyed their company. I kind of shy away from these goodbyes, you know, because there's always the possibility when you're saying goodbye, you have the best of intentions, but reality takes over, and you always have that thought, this might be the last time I see this guy. I hope not. I hope we stay in touch. But anyway, it's been a pleasure. The clock says the same thing.
Thank you, Steve, but I don't really want to cut you off if you want to keep going. Well, the only thing I can say is thank you, and also from the First Lady of the Second Ward would also like to express her appreciation. So you're all great people. We all differ many times, but I think we're all friends, and we enjoy being with each other. You know, we try and do the best we can. We look at things differently, and that was certainly, we saw that tonight, but that's fine. That's the purpose of a council. If we all agreed, we wouldn't need a council, right? Okay, so I thank you very much. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Doug. To present to Alderman Don Tollerman for his 2 years of service, Alderman Rennie Scott Childress.
I get revenge now. No. All right. Don, this is for your 2 years of service. I want to say one of the most amazing things in my experience with you is watching you transition from one realm of life to another. So of course, your prior work was as a business person, you've developed companies, you've done a lot of work in a very different world. And so it was really fun watching you try to learn how government works and keep asking, why is it like that? What's going on here? And yet, you know, you've kept at it. And that's because you have a special energy. You have a real liveliness that takes you places, that causes you to ask questions, to look for answers, to think about new kinds of solutions. And so I think that that's certainly going to, you know, stay with you. And we look forward to seeing what you do afterwards. To paraphrase what Steve said, you are a little richer than me. I'm a little jealous of that, but only a tad. So, like I say, you know, you've constantly come up with new ideas. We appreciate that. We appreciate very much the service that you've given us and the service to the city of Kingston, your adopted city. And we look forward to seeing the accomplishments you continue to make as time goes on. There you go with that. Oh, and I'll shake your hand this way.
A lot of fun and pleasure working with everybody. I really respect everybody on this council, and I've learned so much about the government process and how it works and how it doesn't. And it's been really a great life experience. So thank you.
Thank you. To present to Alderman Patrick O'Reilly, Alderman Tony Davis.
I've known Patrick for many years and we both endeavor into this political life. And we were both educators until he just recently retired. While we did not always agree on every issue, it was an honor to serve with you and sit next to you. And as you can see, I call him Patrick. I've called him Patrick since the day I met him. Patrick brought uniqueness to the council. You always knew he probably was going to raise his hand and have something to say right before the third bang of the gavel, as demonstrated today. Regardless of the issue, Patrick in his own way provided information that was beneficial. Patrick, I want to say thank you for your service to the city of Kingston. Enjoy your retirement. The Senator Patrick O'Reilly, Alderman Ward 7, 2018 to 2021. Appreciate the dedicated service on the City of Kingston Common Council. And your shout President, City of Kingston Common Council, December 7th, 2021. Pearl Harbor Day. All right, brother. Hold on. Oh, anybody got anything to say? Anybody got anything to say? Anybody got anything? Can I speak?
Patrick O'Reilly.
From my heart, seriously, I took a lot away from this experience. I really did, and I enjoyed this experience very much, and being with you. But the thing I really take away is all the friendships, and I love you guys. Okay.
And just a reminder, you all do have to still go to committee meetings this month, but but thank you very much for your service, and especially it's been said, but your friendship and your spouse's friendship too. And I would like to ask Corporation Counsel to stand up. As everybody knows, he is leaving us for higher grounds to be a judge, and I want to present you with a gift of appreciation from us, the 10 of us, and just thank you for my 4 years with you. I think you were probably my first friend here and really took me under your wing, and you've always, we may have disagreed a lot, but you've always supported me. My first term when I was so young, 4 years ago, it really guided me a lot on the golf course as well as through government, and especially taking this role so quickly. I just really appreciate you always having my back behind closed doors and guiding me legally. And maybe I'll see you in 3.5 years in the court system. And this is a little thank you gift from all 10 of us for everything you've done for us over the years. So. Speech.
It's been a tremendous honor to be able to serve as counsel for your city. It's been a fantastic experience, growing, because we've all grown as public servants in different capacities. We've all had great challenges. We've all had levels of frustration with each other at times, but there's never been a question as to the belief and desire that we've each had to try and bring the best to the city. We may not have always agreed as to the best path, but in my eyes, there's never been any question as to anyone's heart. It's been a fabulous opportunity for me. It's been just an absolute pleasure, and I'm extremely grateful to have had the opportunity to work with all of you. I thank you so much.
That is all we have. Alderman Rennie Scott Childress. Sure.
I'd like to close tonight's meeting in honor of Lloyd Sellers, who was 92, passed away at the end of October. He was born in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. He served in the Korean War from 1948 to 51, where he learned electronic engineering. Went on to become a key figure in the systems design process for SAGE, which was a project at IBM, where he had top secret clearance from the Department of Defense. That's what brought him here to Kingston, working with IBM, where I knew him as my next door neighbor. We had a lot of pleasant conversations. The only thing that rubbed me the wrong way was he had an inveterate ability to start his lawnmower just as my wife and I sat down to eat supper outside. Other than that one shortcoming, he was a wonderful person. He's going to be sorely missed by his friends and family here in Kingston and in Pennsylvania, where he grew up.
Thank you. Anybody else? Alderman Steve Shabbat.
Actually, I wasn't going to do that. This gentleman just passed away yesterday, the day before, so I don't have a lot of details, just a little personal notes. His name is Laurie Cormier. I've known him for a lot of years. His kids grew up with my kids. They played Little League and CYO and all that stuff together. He's married to somebody I've known all my life. Dedicated dad. Some of you might know him. He was one of the librarians at the Kingston Library for quite a number of years. He fought a long battle with cancer, and he finally succumbed yesterday or the day before. So very sad. He leaves behind a couple sons, grandchild, and his wife. So I'm going to miss seeing him around the neighborhood.
Thank you. Anybody else? I have a motion to adjourn. Motion by Rennie Scott Childress, second by Rita Worthington. All in favor? Opposed? We hereby stand adjourned until the next regularly scheduled meeting on January 4th, 2020.